Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon to wherever you may be in the world, and welcome back to another round of the F1 Creator Series powered by EA Sports. And I am so thrilled to bring you the first fan vote Grand Prix, and albeit the only fan vote Grand Prix of the season. My name's Tom Knight. I'll be opening and closing the show for you lovely people at home, and boy, have we had a cracking opening to the season. 5 races, 4 different race winners, and a whole lot of carnage in the background. Welcome back to our standard Saturday night programming. Let's talk about, though, last time out in Mexico. A race of numbers, many times you'd like to say. 71 laps that then turned into 91 laps, and then inevitably ended on lap number 87, with Alex Gillen taking the race win, just ahead of Concept 7, who got his first ever podium position in the F1 Creator Series, and of course the old standard of Tiamat Marduk just in third. We'll run through the complete race results a little bit later on, but it was fascinating from us in a driver position, and of course who can forget more disconnects in that race than Safso at 8 PM on a Saturday night. And it's not me though alone here in the commentary box, because there are some wonderful people that are alongside me. First up is the only man to have a 100% record at claiming intermediate pole position, so you know he's a solid bet when he's running the wrong rubber. And of course the man that's just as comfortable scoring 180 as he is driving 180. It's Tom Wilkinson, everybody. Folks, how are we?
All good. Very good indeed. Tom Wilkinson, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I mean, we tried to answer one question at the same time, which is a good start. Chemistry's on point from the word go.
So let's talk about the fan vote coming up. Of course, I'm sure a lot of the drivers are probably already in chat, itching to know how it's going to go. And I have been alerted in ways. Obviously, we've got a slight change or deviation to the format that we normally run for these fan votes. Typically it would be voted by the communities and, you know, the top spot takes it all, but now it's all split into percentages for a wheel spin. And some say it's a fan vote. America does claim it's more rigged than an American election, but none of that really matters because it's all down to the wheel of faith, isn't it, Carl?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's a good thing in many ways that we're doing this, because it detracts from bigger audiences of bigger creators perhaps skewing the vote and we go straight to one particular track. There is a chance for those other tracks that maybe didn't get as much love during the fan vote just to shine through a little bit more. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what kind of lottery we'll be dealt with tonight.
Absolutely. And Tom Wilkinson, yourself, you were there last time out in Mexico City when we had no ERS available to our creators. A race that I personally thought from behind the scenes was one quite enjoyable from a viewer's perspective. I think a couple of the drivers may have disagreed.
Couple? Yeah, maybe a few more than a couple. I think it was a trade-off, wasn't it? We had some really good battles in there. We were actually chatting before we started that from Carl's perspective, who obviously raced last week, you really had to work a lot harder. You had to be a little bit more creative with the overtakes you went through. The trade-off, of course, was we did have a few groups and clusters of laps where there was a little bit of downtime where people did get a bit stuck. So I think it was a bit of equilibrium evening out in the end. We had some really good moments, some moments that were less good. I think we've got a decent selection of tracks as well, all of them providing something a little bit different, whether that's from a racing perspective or a strategy perspective tonight as well. So we should be in for another exciting one.
I think we certainly will. And well, we said about 5 past the hour we were going to go and get ready for that wheel spin. And I'm sure our drivers are itching more than if they were sleeping out in a cabin in the woods. So I'm going to hand it over to you two, gents, and we are going to spin that wheel to see where we're going to go racing.
Are we there yet? We are now. Here we are for the Creator Series wheel spin for the fan vote Grand Prix. Tom, any thoughts? Any particular track you would like to see tonight?
Thoughts? That blue segment is looking pretty sizable. The yellow one on the other side looking pretty slim. I don't have too much of a preference. Hungary, I think a lot of us would quite like to steer clear of. That might be a bit of a slog fest. The other 4, fairly happy with. All have, very different characteristics from a track perspective. China, very hard on the tyres. You've got Qatar and Qatar that are very flowing. And then the 4 DRS zones of Australia as well. So a lot to play for.
Well, I know from behind the scenes, having done a bit of digging and research, that a couple of certain no racing line users would certainly love to be cooking at Qatar. But who knows? It's not down to us. It's time for the Wheel of Fortune to spin. So let's do it. Tom Wilkinson, let's see what track we're going to have tonight.
Spin that wheel, everybody. We're going. And I think the biggest segment is going to be the one that wins. How predictable is that, everybody? I mean, we could have just wasted the last 20, 25 seconds. Qatar is the track we are going to be heading to. Qatar. I've seen Hungary in the rain in the chat. Qatar in the rain. That could be quite interesting.
That certainly would be interesting, you know. Bit of rain to spice up your life in the sandy dunes of the desert. You never know. A track that is adorned now with Formula 1 and also MotoGP in its history. Not a too distant fixture on the F1 calendar, but hopefully there'll be plenty of creativity amongst our drivers tonight. And Tom Knight, guess what? We're heading to Losail.
We certainly are. What a track. I'm really hyped for it. Of course, if you consider the history that the circuit holds, first opened back in 2003, 2004 for the MotoGP circuit, the Qatar Motorbike Grand Prix, and of course stepping up into the reins of Formula 1 in 2021, I think we're in for an absolute spectacle here tonight. And of course, no wildcards, so no rusings for any drivers to get used to. I think it's going to be a good one.
I love driving Qatar. On F1 25, it's such a flowing track. Love the way the undulations work, the constants. You're trying to find every single millimetre of track and you're praying that every single corner your car is going to grip up enough aerodynamically and with the mechanical side of things as well. With those realistic cars as well, how much do you dare to push? It's a track that sees many a track limit.
Absolutely, and that's going to be the quarrel, I think, for most of our drivers here this afternoon. How much can you take to the extent of the circuit? How much can you afford to run wide? And let's not even start to talk about pit stops, because that is one thing that I think our drivers will have in dividends coming their way. And hopefully, as we said, less black screens than we saw last time out in Mexico City. But Tom, just to yourself as well for the race here, who are we maybe going for some early predictions, at least for pole position?
That is very, very difficult. I mean, there's somebody that I cannot look past, which is Kareem 70. Now, obviously has had some trials and tribulations without the race line. Now finds himself driving a Mercedes, considering he's a former champion. That pretty much shows you how his season's going. I think he's, 17th or 18th in the championship, 20-something points. He has got to be one of the big favourites in that car. I'm looking at other ones. The Aston Martin should be okay around this circuit as well. That straight line speed is going to be a problem, but if you can try and dial out, maybe just balance the setup ever so slightly, those Astons could be pretty decent. Decent on tyre wear as well.
That they can. And I think there's quite a few drivers and creators that maybe weren't expecting. Of course, we've got a new entry here this afternoon. Lens the Goat, of course, quite well known over on the TikTok side of streaming. And I have, well, in the research, let's put it this way, checked into a couple of his streams. Is rather entertaining. If you don't go give him a follow, do so already. Chris also steps in for their first race since season 10. And of course, a couple of, again, old guard reserves stepping in for this afternoon. We've got Qatar Lucas making their return. And of course, Gwatz, who steps back after a considerable number of days absent. But we're going to throw it over to the drivers standing. Let's see how they stack up against one another. Oh, it's me. I wasn't expecting to be here.
Hello,
so
TJ.
we'll go through the drivers' standings. It's Meraki at the top, who's in the Haas, as you can see, for this afternoon. It's a Sauber double pairing in second and third with Alex Gillen and Razin Chai. Of course, both of those drivers, I believe, well, at least Gillen winning one race this season. Meraki has one win as well back in round 3. Tim Mardik and Razin both tied as the bridesmaids for the season. Both of them tied on the most podiums of the season, with Vince in 5th, who of course won back in the second round. Lolly Nova goes 6th with Riccio 3 and 7th. Fabio's 8th. Safso, of course, season 1 champion, looking for an emphatic return, you could say, if I want to use that as a vowel and a noun. And Concept 7, after his podium last time out, lines up in 10th place, Tom.
Yeah, taking a massive jump up the standings onto 40 points. Member of a bit of a club there with Fabio and Safso on the 40s. I think the battle at the front is going to be interesting. Meraki comes off a terrible race last week in Mexico. Alex Gillen, the trade-off, comes into this from back-to-back victories. Monaco a few weeks ago before the break, and then Mexico last week as well. Tim Mardik, consistent as ever, number of podium finishes. He should be strong around this circuit as well. Was the track that he actually wanted to race at rather than his home venue of Albert Park. So I think the championship could very much see a few spins and a few twists in the next couple of hours.
Absolutely. And let's have a look down the other side of the table as well. Formula Kai lines up in 11th. GB, of course, announcing his full-time retirement from the F1 Creator Series. I'm sure we will see him back at some point in time. Matt 212 in lucky 13th. Scotty Designs, by the way, again, having a fantastic season in the Rebel, partnered alongside Chappers for this afternoon's endeavours. Tukey is not racing this afternoon. They're away on some hollybobs, so I've been told, with Karim 70 in 17th place. That's a bit of a tongue twister for all you folks at home. Adam Sanson has somehow ended up in a McLaren down in 18th place, with Scott Taylor also taking an early shower from the season. Matty D 13 down in 20th place. That's how your driver's standings look as we head in towards the Qatar Grand Prix. I think it's going to be absolutely thrilling, and I don't think it's going to be that way when we end out, Carl.
I don't think so either. I think there's a couple of key drivers to look out for. By the way, if any of you were worried per se that the old guard, the general fast few, weren't going to be at the top of the tree. Think again. Look at the top four. Alex Gillen, Tiamat Marduk, Rasin Chai, Meraki. They are the top of the tree at the moment. But we could see that change once again. I want to keep an eye on Concept 7, actually. Use the McLaren to great effect in Mexico City, of course. And we head over to the Dusty Desert. He's in the Ferrari. So that could be interesting. Both McLaren drivers, Matt212, Adam Sanderson. There is a great opportunity once again for someone to score a scintillating result tonight.
There absolutely is. And Tom, again, we've had a flurry of different results. I think it's something that I said right at the start of the season. We're going to see maybe in qualifying the faster cars be the more powerful ones, but actually that endurance aspect that comes in as part of a 100% race, the old guard are going to be the ones to come back through the field.
I think that's what makes Concept 7's podium last week even more impressive. He was so consistent, even when Alex Gillen was, chawing at the rear end of that car. Even when Scott Taylor was flying past with the use of battery as well. Didn't lose his head, came through to take that second. Yes, we were 5 laps short at the end, but did a very good job. And it also, the trade-off of that and the double edge of the sword is that McLaren, we saw how strong it is as well. And that puts pressure on Adam Sanderson and Matt212. Matt212, a notable bottle job in the Creator Series, so we'll see how he can deal with the pressure being in the best car. Adam Sanderson as well, great opportunity to get a very decent whack of points.
Absolutely. It's not going to end that way, and I'm certainly sure we're going to see many quarrels across the way. But we're going to throw over to qualifying, everybody. I'll see you very soon and hand you to the very capable hands of Carl Paranek and Tom Wilkinson.
Thank you very much, TK. Welcome to the Losail circuit, ladies and gentlemen. Under the floodlights. But who will shine under the spotlight as we quench our qualifying thirst? Already cars fleeing out of the pit lane. We see Safso making his way out, of course. I'm Carl Paranek. I was in a Tom and Tom sandwich as I try and navigate you through the commentary. But alongside me, of course, Tom Wilkinson. We're going to take you through now what is 17 minutes of qualifying action.
Yes, we are indeed. Remember, everybody, if you're new to the Creator Series, we say it every week. First of all, where have you been? That is very poor from yourselves. But inside the first 6 minutes of our 80-minute qualifying session, a championship point is handed out to the driver that sets the fastest lap on the green stripe intermediate tyres. Even if, as it is here in Qatar, the track is bone dry. So there is an extra championship point on offer, which is why it can be so crucial. We know how close it is in the championship, just 6 points separating Meraki and Alex Gillen. Come season's end, which isn't too far away now, that extra point could be very vital.
For sure it could be. There's a bit of an art to doing an intermediate pole lap. You've, of course, got to factor in the fact it isn't the correct compound. You've got less grip into both the braking zones and mid-corner. You're sort of doing a drifting act all the way through the lap. As we see a little fun fact from Safso, who was 5 from Hogwarts and now in witness protection. That is not ideal, and for legal reasons, we can't say that name. Whoever's put that graphic up has been taken straight to Azkaban. But the point is, that there for you, ladies and gentlemen, is our PS1 Lord and Saviour himself as he crosses the line to begin our first intermediate pole of the day here, Tom.
Season 1 chat, let's not forget as well, charging down into turn number 1. The tyres should be okay at this stage, but with the twists and turns of this Losail circuit, those front tyres in particular, the temperature is going to start to skyrocket and definitely start screaming for a little bit of mercy. Looked a little bit pedestrian there through 2 and 3. And then you've got to chuck it in to the start of the middle sector. Double right-hander, total commitment required, of course, and still looks fairly pedestrian. This has to be said for Safso.
Yeah, very conservative with the curbs as well. You can abuse the track limits quite a lot. There is space to do so, but Safso keeping it very cool and composed. Currently in witness protection, but looking to steal a march on the rest. You get over to this long winding right-hander. You're using all of the exit curb on that left-hand side. Cut the right as much as you can, and then you're braking at the access road on the right. Trying to use every single ounce and nanometer of track limit available to you, but again, just keeping it composed. He's left it in none, and I suspect here, as he's set to purple sector 2 because, well, he's the only one to have done so, but I suspect he'll probably be charging up, getting used to the intermediate conditions, and going again as he goes wide. But that's a bit of a double-edged sword, because of course, he's used the best of his tyres here.
And of course, the tyre temperatures are going to be slightly higher than they were, say, when you get out of the pits, for example. So that will make that second lap just a little bit harder, but trying to feel his way around the circuit, at least for this first attempt. Safso will cut the beam with a 27.9. You would imagine that a lot of drivers are going to eclipse that. Not 100% sure how many are out there on the green stripe intermediate tyres. 3 drivers not out there at all. Concept 7, Gwatz and Adam Sanderson still in the pits. Lenz, the GOAT, has decided to be away with the inters and gone straight onto the soft tyres. 25 flat, but not the most competitive time I've ever seen, I have to say.
Indeedy not. On board one of the Ferraris as Lolinova goes to a 26.2. I believe that is an intermediate lap from the V-Carb driver. Excellent lap time for him. But it's Ricky 03 on the soft tyres. There's your tyre situation. A myriad of drivers on the green striped intermediate tyres. Got so many things to consider. Ricky 03 has thrown caution to the wind and looks to paint the town red, or in this case purple. Team radio from Mr. Tiamat Marduk, who doesn't know what to expect on the intermediate compound of tyres. Ricky 03 though has absolutely blitzed provisional pole at the moment. A 21.8, Matt 212, not far behind at all in his McLaren car. Meraki can't get close to intermediate's pole though. Plenty of pickers though as they make their way through the last corner of the track. That guy Vince about to cross the line to set his first intermediate lap, and still no one can beat Lolinova.
First chance really to see the true runners and riders. Razinchai just a 10th down on Lolinova, but it's still the Italian stallion holding the intermediate pole time at the moment. And yeah, 25 milliseconds separating the Ferrari and the McLaren at the sharp end of the field. Tiamat Marduk said he wasn't 100% sure what the intermediate tyres would give him on this run, how much he would dearly love not just to beat his teammate, an old championship rival Meraki, in this intermediate race, but to get that extra championship point and take one singular step closer to the Season 4 champion in the standings. Coning the beam now. It doesn't look the most competitive, and 7/10 down, our two-time champion is not going to be totally enamoured by that. Neither will Alex Gillen, having a bit of a run-in with an Aston Martin through the final corner.
Not ideal whatsoever as he peels into the pit lane, completely bails out of it, and I do not blame him. I couldn't tell if that was... It wasn't emphatic, I don't think, and indeed it wasn't. It looks to be. It was Lenz the Goat that impeded our two-time champion, Mr. Alex Gillen. Not ideal whatsoever as he looks to try and just improve a little bit on a 25.0. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I believe, since nobody else is out there on the intermediates and about to cross the line, the Inter's point goes to the Italian stallion, being wheeled into the garage, and probably quite gleeful too.
Very, very nice indeed. Just over a 10th in his back pocket ahead of the Season 5 champion, Lolinova, who has had, has to be said, a bit of an up and down season, a bit of an up and down past couple of seasons. Hasn't been at his brilliant best on the F1 25 game. Getting that extra point, which will give him a lovely boost of confidence, you would imagine, going into the second half, the back end of this qualifying session. Second last week, Concept 7 pole sitter. Of course, he has got a McLaren right in front of him as we head through 4 and 5. Chuck it in as best as you possibly can. I'm going to try and read this. Got a podium on his 5th Creator Series appearance. Adam Sanderson, this is a bit of a throw him under the bus, has done 45 races in the Creator Series and is still yet to finish on the podium.
An unenviable statistic for the McLaren Maestro, who I believe that was just ahead of Concept 7. Either that or his two McLarens going full force as Adam Sanderson, in fact, at the end of the lap, just using as much curb as he dares and pushing it to the right ragged edge as Lenz the Goat is already out and he's crashed straight into the barrier at the edge of the last corner. Adam Sanderson, that won't deter him though. Across the line he goes, and it is provisional pole. Only 17 thousandths of a second at the moment separate the McLaren man and the Ferrari faithful. Already, that's an indication of how fine the margins are going to be.
This is going to be tight, everybody. Watch out come the end of this qualifying session. People are going to have to be on the money until the very last gasp, because one tiny mistake on that final flying lap of this quali session could leave you 4, 5, maybe even more places further down the grid than you should be. Interesting one from Lenz the Goat, has to be said. Obviously just slammed it into the wall coming through the final corner. The definition of unideal. And Matt 212 asking something similar. How do you bin it at Qatar? I'd love to know that one.
Many questions, many answers to find, and we will find them hopefully for you within the next 2 hours as we watch the Williams of Gwatz. He's back. Glory to Grove, and maybe even glory to Gwatz, depending on how he's feeling around the LaSalle circuit. And I will reveal, he was one of these racing line couples. He sets a purple Sector 1, cutting the beam and just blazing up the rear tyres out of the left-hander. He's one of our no racing line users who would have been very happy indeed about having Qatar as a track. Guess what? Christmas has come early. Halloween is already put in the past, and now already the gifts are raining in for Mr. Gwatz.
100%. Halloween might have been yesterday, hoping that he's not going to get spooked, though, by the fact that he doesn't have the rainbow snake to try and guide him round the circuit. Foot flat to the floor through the final sector, though, through the sweeps. turn right, turn right, turn right, chucking corners at your left, right and centre, apart from the left, of course. And then the left comes to the penultimate corner. Very, very close, playing it with fire with those track limits coming through the penultimate corner. This has been fairly decent, though, from Gortz. You mentioned it, fastest in the first sector. Pulling gears up to the line now. That Williams should be fairly decent around this track. In the 22s, though, not a great final sector, actually. Looking at the telemetry, 22.5 for our former F2 race winner.
It's Karim 70, though, the other man on a mission. 70 in P17 in the championship at the moment. And we'll talk about Karim a little bit here. Of course, our Season 9 champion in the Creator Series. Got a couple of wins last season as well with the racing line. It's all been a little bit trickier since then. Of course, that's to be expected when you don't have the racing line. But he's still shown flashes of absolute phenomenal pace. I mean, think back to Singapore, second in the sprint race, pole position that came almost out of absolutely nowhere. He's clearly got pace in the wheelbarrow full, but he's got the Mercedes car now. He's surely got to make it count today.
100%. Consistency has been key, and he's been missing those keys, it has to be said. Struggled to unlock the door of the performance that he had in those previous 2 seasons that he was part of the F1 Creator Series and challenging for the championship. Decent lap so far, though. Purple in the middle sector by a couple of tenths. So this should see him right at the sharp end. Matched also the fastest first sector time. Are we seeing the resurgence here of Karim 70? Looking for a second pole position of the season and takes it by a couple of tenths. A quarter of a second. And if you look at the margins just behind, that is a decent whack of time. As Scotty Designs over the line on a 29.3. Not particularly speedy there for Scotty. Comset 7, it has to be said as well, might be on an outlap, but does have the fastest first sector in his back pocket. So watch out for last week's pole sitter looking to go back to back.
Does indeed. Absolutely flying as the Ferrari man. Here's another Ferrari faithful, though. Another Italian stallion, Ricky 03, looking to try and claim back his pole position. And Bananarama is going through the double right-hander in a matter of moments' time. Absolutely casual and trying to cut every single apex as much as possible. And I thought that was a step too far, and he might well have been a step too far, but he's carrying on and pushing to the limit regardless. Concept 7 as well, I can confirm, we have just revealed it here in real time in the Creator Series. Santa is a Ferrari fan, because that is what Concept 7 is dressed like tonight.
Right colour, has to be said. Datka Vince popping up into second place there in the Alpine car. Another member of that 121.8 club. 8 milliseconds faster than Adam Sanson. The Mercedes gets out of the way for Ricky 03. Will he be just disturbed by the turbulence of the car in front of him going through this farm sector? It looks fairly decent for the Banana Man at the moment. Looking to power all the way to Venus in this Scarlet Ferrari car. Just 2 more corners to negotiate. Fairly decent lap so far. Formula Kai into the 21.6s, 700ths of a second down on his former namesake, Formula Cream, now to Formula 70. As that, Karim 70, I should say, as the McLaren put me off there by absolutely bottling it out of the final corner. I think Ricky was ever so slightly put off by that.
Yeah, Matt 2-on-2 peeling into the pits as well. It's synchronised pit entry between the two of them. Concept 7, though, well on his way. A very competitive first sector from the Ferrari man. A couple of attempts down on what the benchmark is for pole position in the middle, but he's still taking loads of curb on the inside. Got a decent bit of a toe as well as he makes his way to the line. A first podium, not a first pole position at the moment, and those margins are getting closer and closer. Just 3 attempts separating first to 8th place. Expect that to compress even more as Chris will be next to cross the line. Crisscross will want to make you jump, but will he leap up the order as much as possible? That's the question. The front end not complying as much as he would have hoped for, perhaps. Just didn't quite get the bite into the corner. Still into P7, though, and 1 millisecond away from Ricky 03. Ridiculous.
So close, isn't it, Ben? We're looking at his average point scoring there. 15.6. Very, very nice indeed. But this is his teammate, Tim McMahon, at 22.1. That'll be a little bit concerning for the former 2-time champion. Only 10th place as it stands. His teammate Meraki, not particularly quick in the middle sector, and slots only a couple of tenths and 1 position in front. Alarm bells ringing, perhaps, for the drivers that are 1st and 4th in the championship. And there's Razin Chai, 2nd in the standings. He's only P11.
It's me. Well, the slower machinery putting the sword to some of the top, well, pretty much all of the top 4 in the championship. It'll be interesting to see what kind of a response Alex Gillen has to that equation. Not that it's affecting the likes of Formula Kai that much, though. He's right in the thick of things for pole position at the moment in what is one of the slowest cars in the pecking order. As there's the McLaren for you. There's your dinner. Adam Sanderson, left, right, good night. Nearly a 10th ahead of the competition, of course, in that McLaren. Cutter Lucas also improves. Only P10, though. What is now 4.5 temps between, well, pole position and Meraki down to P12 because Lolinoba now is into the 21s as well. A 21.934, and once again, we'll keep talking about it. Those qualifying margins are just compressing and condensing even more as Fabio holds another unenviable record here in the Creator Series, the title for the driver with the most entries without a race win. That's 116 entries, and don't worry guys, I'm not going to comment.
I will. 1,084 days. That's poor from yourself, Fabio. Is he a decent car? The only problem is, currently P20, yet to get a representative time on the board. Bailing out of that lap. Look at how close it is still, though, with, like you said, Adam Anderson lowering the benchmark even further. Safso, decent first set, but invalidating out there. That's going to be catching a few drivers out as well. Like we saw a week ago in Mexico, a lot of big names down the order. 3 of the top 4 in the championship, not particularly close to being inside the top 10, it has to be said. Alex Gillen yet to get a representative time on the board as well.
Where the pendulum could viciously swing out of their favour. On board with Gwatz then, gets the front end bit into the second corner very nicely indeed, makes his Creator Series return today. We very gladly welcome back Gwatz to the fray, to the crazy gang, as he makes his way through the double right-hander and really using the curbs to full effect. That's a 10.5 up just through the first sector for the Williams driver. Plant on the power as much as possible, and he's just getting a bit more comfortable with every single lap here. Of course, that track is evolving all the time as well, and a clear track so he doesn't get disrupted, but we are very rapidly getting very close to crunch time.
Running out of sync, perhaps. If he doesn't have enough fuel loaded on that Williams car, this might be the last we see of Gwatz in this qualifying session. So this is very much going to have to count. Another improvement in the middle sector, tracking fairly nicely. The problem for him is Adam Sanderson absolutely blitzed the first sector, a 30 flat miles quicker than anybody else has managed so far, with the exception of Scotty Designs, by the way, who's only half a tenth down. So pressure on a lot of drivers. Rounding the final corner, we go with Gwatz pulling gears up to the line. The Mercedes engine screaming. Is it a 21? Just about nestled inside the top 10. 21.9, ever so close. Look at it from Lolinoba down to Katalukas, 13 milliseconds.
And 3 milliseconds between P10 and Mr. Katalukas. On board with Safso for a brief moment here, as, well, it all gets very interesting as we see Matt 212 now in the McLaren. This is where it all just, you can just calm things down a little bit. Get ready for the atmosphere to ramp up as we are into the darkness of night. Who will set the timing sheets alight? Through the final corner goes the McLaren man. DRS open, maximum flappage. This is it. This is when they have to make it count.
3.5 tenths separating the Papaya cars. Piling down towards turn 1. Total commitment again from the number 2 McLaren car. Little bit wide, trying to carry as much speed as he dares. A little bit of a tail wag as well as he exploits all of the track that he possibly can. Not sure if he's invalidated. Looking a little bit pedestrian there through 3 and charging up to 4 and 5. This is where we're really going to test how confident you are, not in just the front end, but the rear end of that Papaya McLaren car as well. Looked fairly nice for Matt 212, and then heavy braking down to turn number 6. So easy just to lock the front left tyre and completely throw your lap in the nearest skip that you can find. We don't have the Delta at the moment, but it's fairly decent for Matt 212, if unspectacular.
I was going to say, you can always kind of tell from an exterior point of view if it looks fast. It usually is fast. Matt 212 just keeping it clean and keeping it compliant. The crucial thing is not to overextend those track limits, which is so easy to do round a track like this. Here though, one of my favourite sequence of corners on F125, you just plant your foot flat to the floor all the way. 1, 2, 3, the triple threat, and if you're feeling brave, make it 4 as well through the left-hander. So much mechanical grip on the Papaya Pro as he rounds the final corner for his final flying lap. Here in qualifying, Matt 212 crosses the line and it's only P8. It's not an improvement either. 8 thousandths down. What does his teammate have to respond with though?
Pressure, middle sector that he'd like to forget about very quickly. Terrible, I think, is being kind, it has to be said there, to Matt 212, leaving him 8th on the grid at best. Alex Gillen is only 16th at best. That Sauber not working well for the reigning champion. 22.27 tenths down on the leading Papaya McLaren that we are currently watching. Adam Sanderson has a little bit of time in his back pocket. He also has a bit of a slide at the rear of that Papaya McLaren car. Chris up into second place from absolutely nowhere, the Alpine, into the 21 1.15s, 400ths of a second down. Is Adam Sanderson find the time he needs? He needs to find a little bit more though, because Ricky 03 lowers that benchmark in the Scarlet Ferrari. Adam Sanderson was up by only 8 milliseconds.
It's not going to be enough. He has to have the last sector of his life in order to resuscitate his pole position dreams, using every single inch of track available to him as he rounds the final corner. The final dance for Adam Sanderson in Qatar qualifying. Karim goes to the front row. Adam Sanderson crosses the line, and it's P3. The quadruple factor of terribles being rained down from Bevan Dutler. An absolute horror show from the McLaren man on his final lap. Regardless, it will be the second row. Scotty Designs, by the way, 3 thousandths between him and the front of the second row. What a story that would have been, but what a story it is regardless. Ricky 03, the Ferrari faithful, has pole position, but the competition are not far behind.
And if we head to the back of the storybook, 5 former championships in the bottom 5 places. Alex Gillen 17th, Timo Malik 16th, Safso 19th, and Razin Chai is only a few places higher in 12th. This is a grid that I don't think a lot of us were expecting. Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren, Red Bull, the big 4 leading the first 2 rows on the grid. Then you've got Lolin Ober, former race winner in P5, Chris and Datga Vince making that Alpine sing very nicely. The other RB in P8, Meraki just inside the top 10, the championship leader. His main rivals, absolutely nowhere. Tim Monaco and Alex Gillen, if they're next to each other on the grid, you'd imagine they're inside the top 5, 16th and 17th. Just Chappers, Safso and Lenz the Goat, who retired very early in the session behind them.
Well. Cutthroat qualifying session. TK, what do you think of that one?
Well, I think it was certainly one that there's a few creators maybe out of position compared to where they traditionally expect themselves to be. We've got to talk about Sanderson on the second row, lining up in third alongside our very own Scotty Designs, by the way. Who would have expected that second row?
Well, quite indeed. And like I say, only 3 thousandths. That was how fine the margins were and continue to be. It's immense how close it was out there in Qatar. Exactly what we wanted to see, exactly what we thought was going to be spruced up, and so it proved to be, which is great to see. But of course, that first row as well, let's not forget, Ricky 03, pole position in F1 Creator Series.
Pole position powered by potassium. There we go. I think that's going to sum up his qualifying session as he gets himself ready to go racing. Karim 70, again, an old guard when it comes to qualifying here in the F1 Creator Series. One that we traditionally would expect to be up towards the front, even if we weren't, without his rainbow snake, he wasn't traditionally as fast as we kind of have over the last few seasons.
I think he'll be satisfied, but won't be ecstatic with that. Yes, he's on the front row. He's already taken a pole position in a much slower car this season, let's not forget, in that RB back at Singapore. And it was a pretty chunky gap back to second place as well. I think what's really interesting is no purple sectors for anybody inside the top 5, top 6. In fact, you have to get down to P7, which I think was Datgar Vince in the Alpine, fastest first sector. Infratic, who was 11th, had the fastest middle sector. That just shows you how closely compacted that qualifying session is. And like we had a couple of weeks ago, or a week ago, I should say, in Mexico, so many big names towards the back of the pack. They're going to have to roll the dice to try and get themselves further forward. They wanted this track. It's not the easiest to overtake. They're going to have to try and do something different.
Well, let's get ready to go racing in Qatar. We're in the middle of the desert, but we're not alone by ourselves. Carl Paranek and Tom Wilkinson taking you through it.
Thank you very much, Tom Knight. Well, what a talent it is for Tom Knight. A lot of Knights, of course, can only move 2 spaces in one direction before moving 1 in another. TK, though, has unshackled himself from that particular burden. What a superstar he is. What a race we have on our hands. I mean, look, if any indication, look at the top 10. And just to put it this way, 6 different teams in the top 6 is a ridiculous stat in and of itself. The first repeat you have, of course, is the Alpine duo. You then have Formula Kai in P8. But good qualifying by the V-Carbs, by the way, I thought. Very impressed by them, as Sanderson, again, just ruining his qualifying conundrums. And, well, you can say it as many times as he wants. It's not going to improve his race standing. And on P3 on the grid, he's thrown caution to the wind here, Tom. He's gone for the softs.
3 different teams inside the top 3. 3 different tyre compounds as well. Watch out for that McLaren. It's a speedy car anyway. It's going to be even faster in the opening stages. Cream 7T has taken a gamble, I think. Those hard tyres might take a couple laps just to get them up to temperature into the working window. And if you remember back to earlier races this season and last, since we've had the hard tyres back in, it is commonplace for the drivers that start on the Haas to leak a decent number of places in the opening couple of laps. Yes, this is a circuit where the front tyres in particular are worked very hard in the middle sector and the final sector in particular. If Kareem can get to lap 3 or 4, still be comfortably inside the top 5, he's got a great chance.
Absolutely. Kareem 70 statistic, only one top 10 finish in season 11. Of course, coming at Singapore, where he really did seem in tune with the car, with the track, with the theory of having no racing line available to him. The rainbow snakeless Kareem 70 did properly flourish in Singapore. Since then, it's been a bit of a slug out here in Qatar, though. Oh, how that could change. Second on the grid. Here's Meraki, though. He only subscribes to particular streamers. And apparently for legal reasons, we can't tell you who. What I can tell you, though, is... And... Oh, well, my mic cut out there. That's my... Well, I guess we'll never know who he subscribed to. That's a shame, Tom.
Well, the red tape I don't think would have allowed it. So we'll gloss over that, and I think you can concentrate less on the red tape, more on the red lights that are about to appear.
Here we go, then. Jules in the desert, about to go on. Ferrari on the right. Kareem 70 on the left. It's 5 red lights for the Creator Series in the desert. Lights out and away we go, and it looks like actually a good start for Kareem 70 initially, but we'll see the softer compounds get to work in immediate effect. Ricky 03 blazing through an Alpine, immediately cuts to the inside of Chris behind to look to displace Scotty Designs, and he does. Thunderous start from Meraki, already up to P6, but there's going to be plenty of squabbles as they try and navigate these first couple of corners. Ricky, though, sprinting into the distance. Sanderson did indeed get past Kareem 70 on his soft compounds. Excellent start from the McLaren man. Meraki and Lolinova still going into combat. CQC has been applied correctly by the championship leader, but contact behind its Concept 7 and a whole gaggle of cars. McLaren of Matt 212 stranded on the outside. He's out already. Matt 212 is out of Qatar after a few fleeting corners. Disaster for the Papaya Pro.
Well, I hate to be that guy, but I think he's thrown in the towel there slightly too early. Must have picked up damage and decided, well, that's it for my night. Gave up on it, and we weren't even halfway through the first lap. So that's one McLaren out. The second one did pick up a place. Kareem 70 was so aggressive on the grid. He was almost at 90 degrees as Gwatz with a 10-second penalty for corner cutting and gaining a place. That's an interesting one. That must have been at the kerfuffle we saw down into turn number 6. That is not good news at all. Incredible start, though, as we get green flag running once again for the Haas of Tim McMarlick. Started from 16th up into 8th on this opening lap, albeit on the soft compound tyres. On the button straight away as our former 2-time champ.
He caught me off guard, went straight under the radar, but up to P8 he goes. Avoided the chaos, exactly what he needs to do and exactly what he did with his wealth of experience. Round 2 then between Chris and Scotty Designs, and it's much, much easier for the Alpine driver. Up to P4 he goes. Great start from Ricky 03 though as Len's the go. Speeds into the pit lane, 3 drivers into pit row. After all of the contact and chaos at the hairpin just at the beginning of Sector 2. Ricky 03, though, looking to sprint on clear, just over a second ahead, but Adam Sanderson is reeling him in.
It's incredibly contrasting fortunes, isn't it, for the 2 Ferrari cars. Ricky 03, the red carpet's been rolled out for him to try and scamper off into the distance, although Adam Sanderson might have something to say about that. And Concept 7, on the other hand, well, he tried that reverse entry drift down to turn number 9. Very, very much sideways into the braking zone. Didn't work out particularly well and took a few cars with him as he tried a bit of Wii Sports bowling there on the opening lap. Razin Chai, big name that must have picked up a bit of damage, heading down pit road to get a new front wing, and that's going to put pay to any chances realistically in the first half of this race of challenging with some of his main championship rivals.
Concept 7, bit of bowling. Ricky 03 striking gold currently at the front of the field. Gap under a second though. And this is where Sanderson has to use the best of his soft compound tyres. We look at Tim McMarlick for the time being. This is the gaggle of cars we have. Kareem 70, you said it yourself, Wilkinson. You said that it would be tricky for the hard compound tyres to find temperature, to find their proper pace until a couple of laps in, and Chris is going to make the most of it. Into turn number 1 potentially. We see behind an Aston Martin of Infratic getting very close indeed to that guy Vince. No move being made at the moment. DRS not proving as effective as perhaps some of them would have hoped. Still, those gaps get closer and closer.
The problem for Kareem as well is Chris, as we saw in the opening lap when he shot it down the inside of 3 or 4 cars, incredibly punchy under braking. That is going to put the Mercedes, who's already a little bit uncomfortable, into the braking zones because he doesn't have the Rainbow Snake at slight unease. There is Tim McMahon confident under brakes, so as he sends it down the inside of Loninoba, once again on the money as Tim McMahon pushes that RB car down a further spot, up from 16th to 7th. 9 places gained in what is effectively 2.5 laps, considering the VSC period we had.
The American dream keeps on moving up. Highlighting, though, the man adorned in papaya, Adam Sanderson. 0.4 of a second between him and Ricky 03. Looking to try and keep it as close as possible, but he'll get the effects of the dirty air. Through the triple right-hander, we have a time penalty for corner cutting. That right there is Concept 7 with a 3 seconds as he looks to try and make manoeuvres on Formula Kai. Through the final corner, sending the nose to the inside. Just to mark his statement of intent, looming large in the mirrors, and you'd have to say it's academic. It's surely going to be signed, sealed, and delivered for the McLaren man to the inside of turn number 1. Ricky 03 not putting up much of a resistance into the corner, but brilliantly holds it round the outside instead. Marvellous retaliation from Ricky 03 as the potassium-powered Ferrari Pro continues on his way, but Sanderson not done yet. Still showing the nose to the inside. Looks to try and throw the Ferrari off kilter. Not happening for the moment.
Got a nice reality check there, didn't he? It's the very, very low drag Ferrari car. We know it's very slippery in a straight line. Going to make it hard to overtake both Haas cars on the move. Meraki picks up a couple of spots. First of all with Scotty Designs. His teammate follows through there. And now Cream 17 starting to tumble a little bit through the pack from second on the grid. Now running P5, those hard tyres not working nicely. Interesting decision. I wonder if he could have gone for the softer compounds just to try and maintain track position, try and get into a rhythm because he's struggling so much with where to brake and where to turn in with the lack of racing line. As it stands, he's just going to be under the cosh time after time after time as there goes his former championship rival Tim McMahon punching him in the belly again.
Sort of piled off to the side there just to make sure he actually had a little bit of room to figure himself out, because that's where the main struggle has been. When he's been amongst the gaggle of cars, when it hasn't been smooth sailing and clear track ahead of him, he's just struggled to find his rhythm. As that guy Vince behind gets through on Lolinoba's nice juicy battle, they're still side by side. Out of the final corner, a drag race between the V-Carb and the Endstone outfit towards turn number 1. Who dares to burn more battery? Whose car can cut through the air beautifully? More battles between Ricky 03 and Adam Sanderson as the Ferrari man just once again delightfully defends. A little bit closer though is the Papaya Pro, looking to try and find manoeuvres left, right and centre to the nose to the inside. But contact made with the diffuser, and that will lose all of the momentum he had once garnered up.
Yeah, I feel like that was impatience personified there for Adam Sanderson. He wasn't really in that fight. I mean, you're a brave man to send it down the inside into turns 4 and 5 when he knocked alongside heading into the braking zone. I think he just could have played that a little bit smarter. Loninoba and Emphatic still sinking their teeth into one another. It's the Aston Martin on the outside. Should be faster through the middle sector, but is an absolute boat in a straight line. So Fabio wants to get this one done. Turns to the inside and disposes of our Italian stand. Have he put him in his back pocket firmly? The answer is very much yes. The door slammed in the face of the Italian man. It's Portugal 1, Italy 0. That's the scoreline in the battle for 9th and 10th.
Good move there from Infratic. Concept 7 joining the back of the train as well. We ride on board though with Tiamat Marduk. What a start of the race it's been. Make that 11 places gain so far this race. An absolutely tremendous tear on the competition, but you can see the tyres complaining already as the rear end slides hopelessly out of the final corner. No battery to play with either. He's giving it absolutely everything to keep up. Meraki and Tiamat Marduk on those same soft compound tyres. Scotty Designs, by the way, also on the softs. But you have to wonder how long it will be until they start feeling the pain and the shame, while others brilliantly find some gains out of their tyres. Ricky 03, his defence on the medium tyres could well tell the tale for the context of the rest of his race if he can keep up that solid work he's doing against the McLaren behind.
And you feel like that's Adam Sanderson maybe just running out of opportunity there. That could explain why he was a little bit desperate to try it on the previous lap into turn 4, because he knew that maybe he's running out of chances. Those soft tyres start to degrade and fall very much past their best. This is where Kareem needs to be headstrong. Just know, okay, these hard tyres eventually are going to come back to me. The two Hasses first on the hit list are going to start struggling very, very shortly. And look at Meraki just struggling to cling on to the coattails of Chris, who's holding P3 very nicely in that Alpine car, under no pressure at all from Jake behind. Adam Sanderson still cruising up to the back of the Ferrari once more. Knows now that Ricky's fast in a straight line and uncompromising into the braking zones as well. So he's just going to have to get his elbows out a little bit harder without, of course, ruining his and the Italian man's race.
Saw the car wiggling out of the triple right-hander as he just looks to plant the power on that little bit earlier, to burn the battery that touch sooner. DRS once again wide open, using the off-track surfaces as much as he can for a slightly smoother ride. Perhaps he would want to try the outside occasionally. Again, he'll persist. Persistence, does it pay off? Sapso's left the session. That is devastation. I think still they remain side by side as they emerge from behind the grandstands. They do. This time Sanderson's off alongside, and this time it's the lead of the Qatar Grand Prix. Once was nice, twice was nicer, but he's done it thrice. Through into the lead finally, and now with clear air, can he escape?
4, 5 laps coming potentially there. We'll see how much life and how much bounce is left in the soft compound tyres. Not sure who that ginger person was that was joined, but papaya is the orange colour that we very much want to focus on here. Trying to put some distance now between himself and Ricky. Just leave that Ferrari scrabbling for grip in the wake and in the turbulence, the dirty air of that papaya McLaren car. 1.6 seconds still back to the Alpine of Chris. Equidistant really in that DRS train behind. You have to go back to Alex Gillen in 13th to find a car that's not really 4, 5, 6 tenths per second off the back of the driver in front. So if these two can just play it smart, maybe Ricky can just say, okay, Adam, I see where you're coming from. Just use a little bit of your pace now, and maybe we can work together and just put a nice little gap between ourselves and the group behind. That will, though, be a warning there for Ricky as he, well, threw it off the track pretty much through the penultimate corner. Sad Safso noises, different week, same disconnection problems for our Season 1 champion. And Kareem 17 will be delighted to know that he has managed to stem the flow. Is now just starting to study the re-geometry of that Haas car in front of him a little bit stronger.
Our tyres coming into a bit of their own. Meanwhile, Safso ruining it. It's Ricky 03 going back into the lead of this Grand Prix. And so he does. 1.5 tenths, make that the lead in outright. Excellent from Ricky 03, and you are talking about the DRS swapping. It might well have been a little bit of the dark arts, a defence against the dark arts even, as Chris is closing up now on his mediums little by little. He's a speedy boy on F125, and he's proving it here. A few tenths just in those first couple of corners, while he looks to provide and apply that pressure as much as possible. Safso looking for some resuscitation from the Philosopher's Stone, perhaps.
Yes, Scotty Designs also needs his race to be resuscitated a little bit, down into P8, maybe P9. He's staunchly holding on to that 8th place at the hands of Infratic. Aston Martin desperately trying to take it away from him. I think Fabio has been successful in muscling his way past our mean Lord King, but look at the gap. Was it wise, Ricky and Adam Sanderson battling so hard? Because Chris and everybody else in the trailing DRS train now reasserting themselves in this leading battle. It's no longer an exclusive club of 2. It's a club of, what is it, 14 drivers in this lead snake.
Bonkers, absolutely bonkers, under the floodlights, lap number 8 here in Qatar, and 2 turns to 14, 7 times the fun here in Creator Series, as DRS once again wide open for Adam Sanderson. Does he try and make a move into turn number 1? Shows the nose to the inside, but just not enough of a braking zone or confidence to provide him with that extra impetus. Ricky 03 holds on to the lead for now. Chris, all he has to do, I fear, for these two up ahead, is he just needs to bide his time. He's had clear air this whole time. He hasn't been battling hard or having to use it or expend his tyres as much as possible. Now he has slightly more advantage, perhaps, in the rubber that he has applied to the Alpine car, and he can just squeeze on the pressure every single corner, little by little. Meanwhile, that guy Vince just dropping out of DRS briefly. The 14 car train might be 6.
It'd be crucial if that secondary group decide they want to disembark from the lead DRS train. Vincent had a decent middle sector though, getting himself back into contention. Adam Sanderson, he's in a McLaren this week. Who's giving him that car? Well, he's making work of that papaya car, but we are seeing he's a little bit jittery. He fancies it down the inside into the S's. The sweeps of the final sector, barging past Ricky 03 as Chris, spooked by that, falls off the circuit. We said Halloween was yesterday, but he was the one that was troubled by what was going on in front of him. I feel like I was about to say, and he's almost pulled me up on there, Adam Sanderson looking a little bit jittery there, it has to be said, in this race. Remember, in this top 3, only one podium finish between them, no race victories, and that podium for Ricky was only a few weeks ago in Monaco, so they're fighting for something they haven't got that much experience in. Into the pits comes Scotty Designs, had enough of those soft compound tyres. Ricky fancied it again, back around the outside of turn 1, putting some manners again on the McLaren of Adam Sanderson, saying, get back behind me. I wasn't a fan of that into the final few corners. Meraki sternly examining the Alpine as well, ducking this way and that, and Chris, for the time being at least, will hold on to third place.
Excellent stuff once again. Brilliant racing. Meraki is now getting himself right into the thick of things as well. Just getting closer and closer. Can open the door for Tiamat Marduk though. He's just closed in a little bit. Has to defend the inside. Just a smidge as Sanderson says, what wings are you running, Sir Ricky 03? We know the Ferrari can cut through the air like a hot knife through butter. But that was elementary. That was absolute child's play for Ricky 03, who made Adam Sanderson look like he was standing still.
Bit of race IQ there as well. Adam knew there was a DRS straight coming up, and now maybe he's feeling that, I can't get past in a straight line. I've got to do it in unorthodox places, and just lacking a little bit of confidence in the car that's underneath him. So interesting to see how that dynamic pans out over the next 15 to 20 laps. The two Haas cars have been watchful in 4th and 5th at the moment. Tiamat Marduk hasn't really been under any pressure from Kareem 17, who is starting to get into that rhythm. Those hard tyres working nicely as well. He'll be trying to play the long game, of course. Will our former champion, currently holding P6, needs to be careful of that Govins that's still hot on his heels in 7th position as well. And Fabio, we've seen, very racy so far, trying to use that Aston Martin downforce to good effect. Will be slow in a straight line, but in that middle sector, going to be absolutely electric.
Here he goes, DRS wide open again to look to try and retaliate. It's not going to happen though. Chris, I'm just seeing him pull out of the slipstream a little bit. We saw a lot of drivers have trouble with this as well, particularly when you're in the driver's seat. A lot of drivers having trouble with engine temperature in the slipstream. That's the caveat of being in the DRS train. Perhaps that's why Adam Sanderson, like you say, was looking so jittery, because clear air is absolutely king. You want to have as good of an engine as possible to give yourself the best chance, because if you just overcook it a little bit more, Kareem 17 just getting a bit trigger happy on the brake pedal despite using a wheel. Shut up, I know what I'm talking about, all right? 6th place at the moment for the man on the hard tyres, and they are just coming into a bit of a realm of their own here as Tiamat Marduk really starting to struggle out of DRS.
We're going to have to burn a little bit of battery there. We've got it back this week, and just trying to get back to within a decent range of his teammates. Still hovering in the danger zone ever so slightly, but I have to say I was wincing there when Kareem locked the rears, and I thought he was going to loop it round in a very lazy and languid fashion and drop from P6 all the way to the back of this DRS train that still holds 13 cars. Gwatson and Alex Gillen at the tail of it. Haven't spoken a lot really about the reigning champion. Been very quiet so far on his set of the white stripe hard compound tyres. We saw Gillen use those hard tyres to very good effect a week ago. Took a little bit of time, but then once they started to sing, he was absolutely rapid and very decisive in where he made his overtakes work. Two of the slowest cars in a straight line, the Alpine and the Aston Martin, potentially doing battle with the Mercedes in front, which equally is not that slippery in a straight line. And they remain fairly equidistant. You can just see their cream still a little bit wobbly going through turns 1 and turn 2. You can see they're not quite as smooth as the likes of Tiamat Marduk, Datkovic and Infrati. Now that is part of his driving style, of course. He likes to be aggressive, Fernando Alonso style, really hustling the car on turn and getting the nose to bite. That does tend to work the tyres a little bit hard as well, as we have seen in his short, albeit successful, Creator Series career.
Talk strategy quickly while we're on the subject of ragging the car around and pushing the tyres to the limit. Of course, Scotty Designs has got off his soft compound tyres pretty much as quickly as possible. So Adam Sanderson still has decent pace on the softer compound, maybe courtesy of being in the DRS train and just keeping it consistent with the car he has underneath him. A lot of people probably committed to a 2-stop today. Safety cars permitting. I mean, listen, we're not saying anything, but it probably will happen. Safety cars permitting, it's probably a 2-stop, most likely. Maybe that's why some have gone on the hard tyres, just to get that pain out of the way and then have the faster compounds available to them later. Adam Sanderson, though, he's got the fastest lap of the race so far, and he's using that soft compound tyre once again. Look how close he is, showing the nose again to the inside of the final corner. Ricky 03, nowhere near flying off piste though. He looks cool as a cucumber, out in front.
But it's so untidy though, wasn't it? In the wrong gear coming through the final corner. Big whack of oversteer as well, and that means that into turn 1, he's nowhere near the Ferrari. Now, whether he just wants to sit and wait and baby those soft compound tyres at this stage of the race, that will be, we'll have to wait and see, because he was looking like he fancied it down the inside into the final corner. We're hearing from TK, who's operating not just as presenter, but in Clipbook Corner as well, technically, the pundit. 40% on his tyres. I don't think the softs are that terrible a race tyre if, and it's a big if, you can keep the temperatures, especially those front tyres, under control. Otherwise, you're going to be understeering like an absolute boat. Adam Sanderson seems to have kept those tyre temperatures under control at this stage, which means he can continue to try and be aggressive at this stage of the race.
Give an idea of the disparity as well. His left front's on 40%, right front tyre only 19% wear. Absolutely crazy, but that is the dynamic of the Losail circuit, ladies and gentlemen, as we are interlocked in a big battle in combat at the front of the field. 1, 2, 3, 4, make that 13 cars in the lead DRS train, all varying in terms of performance, all varied in terms of team types, and all varied in terms of success stories in the Creator Series. For some, it's an outstanding opportunity waiting to be grabbed by the horns. For others, they've seen success plenty of time. They just want to return to the top step and properly make a charge for the championship. Again, Adam Sanderson not getting the best exit out of the final corner. But perhaps, like you say, perhaps that's the game plan. Just to baby the soft tyres. He knows that if he stays in the DRS and Chris can't get close enough due to the dirty air, he'll sit pretty in P2 and carry those soft tyres quite a long way.
And this is where we are seeing as Kareem 17 battling away with Tim Mark, and he has managed to punch the Haas back down into P6. I saw it was closely following down into turn number 1. Ben may have been slightly wide through 1 and 2. The door opened for the former champion. They obviously battled in Season 9 when Kareem did pick up his one and only Creator Series crown to date, and he's put some manners on the driver that tried to take that championship away from him. So back up into P5, those hard tyres, you would imagine, better than the soft at this stage after 14. That's a flat-out running in the dirty air as well. Will we see Kareem start to just slowly but surely pick them off one by one and get himself back inside the top 3? I was going to say at this stage, you're seeing a lot of drivers just trying to dig in, getting into the trenches, just trying to preserve the tyres, maybe save a little bit of fuel as well to prevent any melodramatic moments in the back half of this race. Battle going on way back, by the way, between Safso and Chappers. The Williams had disposed of the Red Bull, but Chappers fancying it down the inside, chucked it down the inside and pushed the Season 1 champion back down into P15. Both of them with penalties looming over their head. Not ideal at all. They're going to continue to scrap it out into the final few corners now. I think the Red Bull's going to fall off the circuit, just about keeping it on the track. Safso with a big fishtail coming through turn number 14, and eventually the Season 1 champion, who previously, and this is a really interesting discussion actually, was known for being quite passive in battle, looking very feisty there, as is Adam Sanderson, still trying to make those soft tyres work, still fancying his chances of taking the lead, but it's Ricky 03, once again bit of deja vu that hangs it all the way around the outside.
The momentum he picks up mid-corner, absolutely ridiculous, but in other crucial news in the context of their race, Chris out of DRS for the time being. So great news for them. In the world of Kareem 7T, by the way, it would have been a very big case of no luck catching them Hasses then. Well, it was just the one Hass, actually, and I've already got him. Next Hass on the chopping block is Mr. Meraki. 4 attempts the gap is hovering at between the Mercedes man and the American Dream, who we ride on board with now. Chris, the target up ahead in the Alpine car, has had his ebbs and flows in this race, but has been constantly gorilla glued to the DRS of the front 2. And it's Kareem 17, the big man on the move at the moment. Vince coming forward on the radio and saying Ben's soft tyres look absolutely toast.
You can see the pickup there on Maraki's front left as well. These soft tyres starting to get abused a little bit as they desperately try to cling on to any grip that they possibly can. Hearing that Ben up to 50% on his front left, so pretty much halfway through those tyres. Yes, they would most likely explode before you get to the 100% mark. So people just going to be starting to think about, when do you pull the trigger? When do you bite the bullet, get a fresh set of boots on and try and undercut some of these drivers in this DRS train? Adam Sanderson is now close to Chris in P3 than he is to Ricky 03 out in front. Ben could be under the cosh here because Datkovic's gaining into the braking zone of turn 1. Both Haas cars struggling on their soft compound tyres. Now grappling for grip. Kareem dancing around the outside, fancied it. But Meraki staunch in his defence and holding on to 4th place for the time being. We're starting to see a more feisty version of Kareem 17. Is he coming back to the front, round the outside of turn 4? Don't mind if I do. Meraki has the ascendancy and the high road to just hold Kareem at arm's length for the time being.
See how much more pace the hard compound tyres have. It's to the inside. Goes Kareem 17. Looked a little bit like he was going to lose the rear end, but kept the car compliant. And a crucial move from the Season 9 champion up to P4 has disposed of both Haas cars on those soft compound tyres. And the Haas is going to battle between themselves. The hard compound tyres looking to be in a realm of their own now. The podium positions next up on the list.
Meraki actually did very, very well there. You have to say he saw Kareem coming, slightly out of control version of Kareem coming down the inside, just opened the steering wheel, allowed it to happen, made sure there wasn't any contact there. Yes, he gave up the place. Was he going to lose it anyway? I think he probably was. Safso's been thrown into the abyss, by the way. You can see the yellow flags out in the middle sector. Not good news for our Season 1 champion. He's going to drop about 7, 8, maybe 9 seconds off the back of Chappers in front in a Red Bull sandwich. Diving into the pits comes our former 2-time champion to dispose of those very, very old soft compound tyres.
Let's see what tyres he's going to select in his conquest for the front of the field. We'll see where he comes out in context, or where Scotty Designs, by the way, currently is as well. That guy Vince, therefore, has already picked up a position from one Haas car because he's moved nicely out of the way. So now Meraki, who's lost DRS, 2 to 3 cars ahead of him, because Adam Sanderson now also struggling on his soft compound tyres, which comes as no surprise to all of us here in the commentary box. We look to Kareem 7T, though, who's just reeling in, Chris. Little by little. Ebbs and flows. That's the best way to describe this race. Once the momentum's in your favour, it moves mountains. We're hearing, by the way, that Safso went wide and then tyre hooked with Chappers, spat straight out into the gravel. So devastation for the man who's driving for the Grove-based team. Tiamat Marduk, by the way, 4 seconds ahead of Scotty Designs. So a good stint on the softs for the Haas driver.
100%. And he's got a lovely bit of free real estate to drive into, courtesy, of course, of that Safso mistake. Just about was spat out of the pits ahead of his former McLaren Creator Series teammate, and now can really work at those tyres, bring them in nicely, and see how many places he can make up. How strong the undercut truly is. Obviously, has got the fresh air and the fresh tyres. The trade-off, of course, is that he's not getting the advantage of DRS. Adam Sanson reacting to another one of Tiamat Marduk's, or he is another one of Tiamat Marduk's former teammates. He pulls the trigger into the pits a lap later. Nobody else fancies joining him down pit road. We're going to see the strength of that undercut now. Will it be Haas, or will it be McLaren in the ascendancy by the time Sanderson rejoins the road?
Will be an interesting one indeed. Hard compound tyres for Adam Sanderson. It was mediums strapped on to Benjamin Daly's Haas cars. He makes his way through. There he is in the bottom right of your picture. Foot planted flat to the floor. No DRS, of course, but he'll be burning every single morsel of battery. And he'll close right to the back of Adam Sanderson, the man that was in P2. So that's how much Tiamat Marduk has gained on those fresh tyres. The undercut proving immensely powerful. But perhaps that's a 2-stop in the game plan. Adam Sanderson committed, quite possibly, and, well, probably quite rightly, to that one-stop strategy, barring safety cars. And that would be a very bold call indeed.
It does leave him a little bit exposed here, though, to the pace that you would imagine Tiamat Marduk has in his back pocket in that Haas car. 3-second penalty handed out to Gwatz, who's still the car at the back of that DRS train that has started to disperse ever so slightly. Chris 2 seconds off the leader, Riccio 3, and then a further 1.5 seconds separating Kareem and Meraki in 3rd and 4th respectively. I think Meraki might react to his teammate in the not too distant future. We're just on board with the Alpine, he said Haas, the Alpine of Dak Govins, to see whether the Season 4 champion fancies a fresh set of boots. And the answer is very much yes. He dives into the pit lane, and we'll see where he is now in relation to Adam Sanson and Tiamat Marduk.
Here's Kareem 7T, DRS wide open, and it's not even close. It's elementary, dear Watson. A simply scintillating race so far. Now that the hard tyres have kicked into gear, Kareem 7T is well on his way. Ricky 03, the next target up the road, and Lolin Oba, keep an eye out on him as well, on board with the Italian Stallion. We're hearing Concepts mediums are on 58% after only 19 laps of this race. So the medium tyres even, I was going to allude to the fact that that guy Vince's mediums, particularly on the front left, had loads of pickup on them as well. So they're feeling the pain as well, and the hard tyres have everything to gain. Already, Kareem 7T breaks DRS, and now is going to hunt down Ricky 03.
Big problems, Jonathan Ledyard problems for Meraki. He's come out of the pits 2.5 seconds off the back of Ben and Adam Sanson. That is alarm bells that they're going to be ringing for the Season 4 champion, having to work all by his lonesome in this stint. Adam Sanson's got the chariot of the Haas in front of Tiamat Marduk to drag him along. Jake's going to have to do it with his own pace and his own pace only.
One Haas has cleared the McLaren car. Tiamat Marduk made his way through as well. On our telemetry screen, just to break the fourth wall for a second here, Adam Sanderson is showing up as Hunter in just 6 characters. Hunter. However, the Hunter very much turning the hunted. as Meraki looks to try and hunt him down. He too has gone on to the medium compound tyres, so both Hasses looking to make the most of the faster compound of tyres as Lolinoba sends the nose to the inside. That guy Vince leaves the room, plenty of racing respect from the Alpine driver, keeps the position for the moment, the momentum in his favour. But how much longer can he put this up as fastest lap of the race for Tiamat Marduk? What was 25.9 now cut down by 7/10 of a second, putting those new mediums to great use.
Okay, we're leaving Meraki purple in the face because he's now 4 seconds clear of his teammate. Remember, Jake was the lead Haas before Ben came into the pits. Now 4 seconds between them. Tiamat Marduk is absolutely flying at this stage, and Adam Sanderson is doing a very, very commendable job to cling onto the coattails of that Haas in front of him. Lolinoba, it was interesting, wasn't it, into turn 1? Felt a little bit indecisive, a little bit tentative, just sort of dangled the nose of that RB car down the inside of that Vince. Vince, luckily for Lolly, saw him coming and left the space, but that's the kind of move where we can see drivers just start to trip over one another.
Absolutely we can. He'll go for the second attempt though. So nice, he'll do it twice on board with Lolinoba in the V-Carb car. Has kind of gone under the radar in my opinion, as Lolinoba has been very, very, very good with the realistic cars and proving so once again today here in the V-Carb. Got into the top 5, of course, in Mexico in the Williams, but now from the team from Faenza, how fierce are you feeling with DRS? ERS applied, battery to burn, ascend to the outside perhaps? No, that guy Vince defends the inside, putting his car in all the right places, and Lolly with no answer at the moment.
Wasn't brave enough under braking around the outside. There was a little bit of a gap for Lolly to try and plant that RB car to the left of the Alpine into turn 1. Didn't fancy it though. And that keeps him in 5th place and keeps him frantic, hot on his heels as well. Team radio from Tiamat Marduk. We don't want Jake to get into our DRS. We have to run. He's running very, very quickly. The gap has come down by about half a second. Now 3.5 seconds separating the two Haas cars. The gap that is important, the number that's important though, is between Sanderson and Meraki, which is coming down a little bit. Has Ben burned up the best of those tyres just a little bit too soon? And are we going to see Jake come back into the fray?
Should probably save a bit of battery as well after he absolutely eviscerated the fastest lap of the race. It was 6/10 of a second Meraki gained on to the two cars ahead of him, so he's now making the most of his medium tyres and continuing to do so. At the top 10, no one has pit just yet. A couple of others that made pit stops earlier on in the race after chaos on lap number 1 at the beginning of Sector 2 that saw Matt 212 bow out of the Qatar Grand Prix. His first DNF in the Creator Series and in a McLaren car. What a bitter pill to swallow. Highlighting this man at the moment, Concept 7, as a couple of drivers peel into the pit lane. Chris in the Alpine, that is, who peels into pit row to get off of his medium compound tyres. Kareem 70 though, the hard compound tyres, the Havoc Wreaker. He's into the lead, and with no racing line, with no Rainbow Snake to assist him, he is annihilating the competition at the moment.
And that was the easiest you like, wasn't it? Bread and butter into turn number 1, and crucially, look at the gap this pair have got. You'd imagine Ricky might be making his way into the pits very shortly, but they're 4 seconds pretty much ahead of Datka Vitz, and crucially, that has Lolinoba on the hard tyres in that train, Formula Car on the hard tyres, and Alex Gillen, who's still mired in the midfield, P8 at the moment for the reigning champion. Just going to have to think about things, Alex Gillen, at this stage. No alarm bells need to be rung just yet, but if he just continues to get stuck in this train of cars, will we see Alex Gillen fighting for the race win in about 30 laps' time?
Quite possibly. Patience is a virtue. He proved it in Mexico in a lot of ways, did Alex Gillen, that just had to play the waiting game a tiny bit, and you would just be put in the proper position. Meanwhile, Kareem 70 and Ricky 03 running away. 4 seconds the gap between themselves and that guy Vince. Lolinoba again looking to try and find a way through. I couldn't count to you how many times he's tried to make a manoeuvre on the Alpine car. Maybe even he doesn't need to. And Keller Surprise right on cue. The script writes itself. That guy Vince into the pit lane.
What's following in the footsteps of him as well? The battle royal continues between the leading duos. Is this smart for Ricky 03? Didn't look too much like he wanted to take the lead from Cream, just dangling the nose of that Ferrari down the inside, maybe out of necessity. There is a disparity in top-end speed, but here comes Ricky again, thinking about it, looking to the inside, doesn't want to just shoot it up the inside into turn number 4 and ruin any chances that the pair of them have of picking up a podium or maybe even a race win, of course, in this Grand Prix. Formula Kai's disposed of the second Ferrari of Concept 7, still out there, suffering on his medium compound tyres. Alex Gill will be next on the hit list to try and relegate last week's pole sitter down a further spot, and then it's 14 seconds. That's the magic number back to Tiamat Marduk in P8. Adam Sanson still getting towed along very, very nicely indeed. Meraki 2.5 back. Then you've got the two Alpines 6 seconds off the back of Jake. This undercut has put Ben and Adam Sanderson in particular in a great spot.
Absolutely, but the question is, will the medium tyres, considering how awful they look, and that's only after 22 laps, if Tiamat Marduk wants to do a one-stop, which I assume the likes of Chris, that guy, Vince, maybe even Adam Sanderson are going to do, he's got a tall order on his hands. Does the Australian sensation, but never say never. Tyre whisperers are plenty inbound here on the Creator Series grid. Alex Gillen shuffles out nice and wide. Kareem 70 puts his pit limiter on, perhaps a touch early, but he is into the pit lane. Rather interestingly, bowing out of the hard tyres after 24 laps and onto the soft compound tyres. Hyper aggressive from the Mercedes man.
Like it. Big fan of that move from Kareem. Maybe just sensing the danger of Tiamat Marduk, Adam Sanderson and Meraki in this race. And as we say that, there goes the Papaya McLaren, pulling past his former Mercedes teammate and up into P7 now for the McLaren of Adam Sanderson. Alex Gillen's also pushed Concept 7 down a further spot. We're starting to see Alex move towards the front. His next target will be trying to get past Formula Kai, who isn't the easiest to overtake. Let's be fair. And then a bit of a gap to Infratic in front, who's continuing to be stuck underneath the rear wing of Lolanoba. That pair have been joined at the hip for pretty much 24 of the 24 laps that we've seen. So Kareem 70, if we look at where he's been spat out, 5 seconds off the back of Meraki, 2 seconds clear of the dueling Alpine cars. This is going to be a fascinating race if we get no safety car. Adam Sanderson fastest in the first sector, unsurprisingly. If we look at Tiamat Marduk for an example, he's 10 seconds ahead of the two Alpines. He's been on those tyres for 7 laps. So he's picked up 10 seconds in 7 laps. There's an opportunity there, if he does want to make that 2-stop work, to really chase after them in the latter stages of this Grand Prix. Alex Gillen was the winner last week. He's not the People's Champ, though. That went to Scott Taylor, who ignored the wildcard, the ropes of the wildcard, used the battery, took his first Creator Series victory, and has now disappeared off into the sunset.
I heard gratuitous amounts of iron brew were spilt onto his wheel and he simply didn't have control. But hey, listen, different sources report different things. As Concept 7 peels into the pit lane on lap number 25, that releases Adam Sanderson, Tiamat Marduk, fastest lap of the race for the McLaren man, got DRS on the last lap, made his way through with DRS and gets out of the way to let Tiamat Marduk now take the race for this next lap. They're beginning to gap Meraki just a little bit here, and I was sort of surprised Adam didn't actually stay ahead, given his hard tyres clearly have plenty of pace. They've got a decent gap to Tiamat Marduk, but either way, those two will continue to DRS swap, and the ebbs and the flows continue. While they've all been doing that, Kareem 70 has, well, good grief, pretty much taken, that looks like to be a second out of Meraki's advantage up ahead, so the soft tyres working very well at the initial phase. We ride on board with Infratic though. 116 races to be able to create a series win. He's close to the front of the field at the moment, but might need a minor miracle. Tiamat Marduk saying Kareem's just boxed, there will be a safety car in about 4 laps. What a rotten piece of luck that would be, depending on who you are.
That's usually how it goes. Count them down, everybody, and we'll see if the safety car luck strikes Kareem 70 once again. I get the sense, though, from Kareem that he's got a bit of confidence back there. That's why he's pulled that strategy play, chucking on the soft compound tyres, fancying his chances, feeling a little bit bullshit. I'm going to try and take the challenge, take this race by the scruff of the neck, and beat the two Haas cars, beat Alex Gillen, beat Adam Sanderson on merit rather than strategy. I'm a big fan.
I am as well. Love to see a little bit of something different as Ricky 03 peels into the pit lane. And I would imagine it would be hard compound tyres unless I am very much mistaken. And no, I'm not mistaken. It is indeed the hard compound tyres. Kareem 70, no real surprise. Fastest lap of the race, now into P8 as Ricky makes his way out of the pit lane. And the two Alpines even are going to displace the Ferrari out into turn number 1 as we look to highlight Lolanoba at the front of the field. Formula Kai's also caught up to make it 3 cars in a DRS train at the front. Both Alpines with the undercut. Only a few laps they needed, but they're ahead of the Ferrari man as well.
This is getting very, very interesting, isn't it? Ricky 03 with some work to do here in this second stint. Maybe the final stint of his race if he fancies going to the end on that set of the hard compound tyres. The two Alpine cars going to be working in tandem, you would imagine. as Lolanoba, Infratic, Formula Kite and Alex Gillen continue to soldier on out in front. Meraki taking chunks of time out of Ben and Adam Sanderson. On the other side, Cream 17 taking chunks of time out of all three of them on those red striped soft compact tyres. When's he going to bite the bullet as well for the second stop of this race? Is this a short stint, then chuck on a set of medium or hard tyres again, undercut the cars in front, and then just casually nab the track position from them?
Very good question. Or whether they try and goal hang for us. On softs, it's optimistic, but whether you try and goal hang for a safety car worked really well for me. Anyway, back to the front of the field. Infratic looking at the rear end of that V-carb, and still it continues. The other V-carb, meanwhile, he's in a Faenza sandwich. A very fruity flavoured combination, but they're applying all kinds of pressure. Adam Sanderson moves back ahead of Tiamat Marduk. Gap now to Alex Gillen, down below 8 seconds. Make that 7.5 seconds. The new tyres are absolutely flying out there as the Alpines now go into swapping territory, or do they? Because Chris now holds it round the outside. Thought he had a chance to nibble at the heels of that guy Vince into turn 2, but no, Vince clears Chris, and that will be P9 in their conquest for the front positions. But this has really shuffled the order up. Of course, Ricky 03 will have the newer tyres, but at the moment, despite the few laps that some may have spent compared to others on their tyres, their pace shows no signs of slowing down at the moment.
These guys aren't really gaining on the group in front. That's what I would say. A few laps ago, 10 seconds between what was Tiamat Marduk, the lead of that train, and these two Alpines. Gap still 10 seconds, now 10.5 seconds. So they just need to get their skates on ever so slightly. Yes, they're pushing flat out, the drivers that are making another stop, the two Haas cars and Cream 17. Adam Sanderson, like we said, doing a very, very good job to get dragged along. And now dragging the two Haas cars along, roles reversal. These guys trying to just treat those hard compact tyres like gold dust, trying to take them to the end of this Grand Prix. So fascinating things unfolding as we are just about approaching half distance for the Qatar Grand Prix. The leading four yet to stop in this race. Adam Sanderson, believe it, he's the net race leader. He could go to the end, like we've discussed. 10 laps already on his hard compact tyres. Does he want to, though? Decent whack of laps left for him to try and negotiate.
Indeed, a decent whack of laps, and, well, Karim decided hard tyres had used the best of their lifespan after only 24 laps, so, again, interesting dynamics to consider in the strategy department as Lolanoba and co cross the beam for Sector 1, go through the left-hander, and that will about do it. We've reached the fulcrum point of this Creator Series race here at Lusail. We did a wheel spin, and the wheel provided us with some jewels in the desert. Since then, it's been a bit of a strategy game. At the moment, lots of different tyre choices, lots of different decisions on when to pit, what to pit onto, and what kind of pace people had in the reservoir. Extremely wide there. I believe that is the Williams of Saf, so I'm tempted to say. Just getting out of the way of the front three battle, and so it is, gets well out of the way of Alex Gillen as well. Not choosing to interfere, and great stuff from the Williams driver. The front four carry on their way then. But the likes of Adam Sanderson and co behind, they are gaining exponentially. As on board with Concept 7 we go. 15 laps newer on his hard compound tyres. And, well, he's just about to exacerbate Scotty Design's issue a little bit more.
4-car DRS stream about to form, by the way. Jake, 1.1 seconds off the back of his teammate. Karim, fastest in the middle sector, absolutely flying. Has just cruised up onto the heels of the Haas car. Fastest lap punched in again. Is he going to make Jake purple for the second time after Ben took it away earlier on? Yes, he does. DRS flap open. Not even a contest, is it? Down into turn number 1 as two former champions trade blows. Another two-time champion awaits just a further second up the road. They're only 5 seconds off the back of Alex Gillen, whose pace at this stage isn't great in that Sauber, it has to be said. His teammate struggling as well, pitted on the opening lap. Safso with another 3-second penalty there. Razzing down in P17, not been a great day for him. He'll be doing the safety car dance you would expect. No points at the moment on the table for the Season 5 champion. Big blow to his title push.
Absolutely. Adam Sanderson over the team radio says Karim is rapid. That's a worry. And I couldn't agree more with you. When you see Karim on it like a car bonnet like he is today, he is nearly unstoppable. Is King Karim. The Karim of the crop rises to the top. That's the phrase I've coined many, many a time. And so it is proving today. Another yellow flag. It's just Safso getting out of the way of traffic as they head through the triple right-hander for the 29th time this race. All the while, Adam Sanderson trying to tow Tiamat Marduk along. All the while, Karim 17 just moseying his way up to the diffuser at a canter, fundamentally for the Mercedes man. plenty of battery to burn, loads of grip, and as you can see, taking it nice and cautiously as soon as he's in the dirty air, using real intelligence and proper racing pedigree just to make sure he saves the tyres. Tiamat Marduk saves the battery. He knows what's about to happen. Is it 3 wide into turn 1? For a moment it almost was. Tiamat Marduk moves through, past Adam Sanderson. Kareem 17 holds it round the outside. Not going to make it happen, but perhaps a chance to switch back it of turn number 2. That is tremendous from the Mercedes man who cuts across to properly put the move to bed. Next car up the road is the Haas of Tiamat Marduk. Would he dare to try a filthy send into the left-hander? The answer is no. Just too far back at the moment, but it's only a matter of when, not if, as he burns the battery and Ben was never going to fight it that hard. Kareem 17 disposes of 2 in a matter of corners.
What an exchange that was. Looked like Ben was just fetching his white flag to wave, send Kareem on his way, and then said, actually, I'm going to send it down the inside of Adam Sanderson. Just throw a spanner, a few pigeons into the tree, cats into the trees of pigeons, and then Kareem, because he's got so much more grip, traction, confidence, etc., blasted past Adam Sanderson, and then all on traction coming out of turn 6 said, I'll have P5. Thank you very much, Ben, and I'll be on my way. I'll see you by lap 57 when I've maybe won this Grand Prix, first time in a long while. Speaking of a long while, Tiamat Marduk, 205 days and counting since his last victory in the F1 Creator Series. Is this an opportunity for him? He's net P2 as things stand. There's still a long way to go.
Absolutely. Lap number 31. Adam Sanderson, DRS range. Now they're getting bullied on by Kareem 17, which for them is probably ideal. If they can keep up with Kareem 17, though, is another matter, because that is the tough ordeal at the best of times. A yellow flag briefly, though, around the Qatar circuit. Again, it's Safso just getting out of the way of traffic and just making sure the race continues to flow at its finest. Lolin Ober still leads this race with Infratic and Formula Kai hot on his heels. Alex Gillen is making the most of that Sauber car as much as he can, but only 1.5 seconds separates him and Kareem 17, who's gone bold on the 2-stop, and so far, it's paying off properly handsomely. What a return on investment this could be for the Mercedes man tonight.
100%. Hasn't broken the DRS just yet, and he's got a problem because Alex Gillen is now the car in front of him, and he's about to drop Ben out of DRS range. He's just going to get reeled back in ever so slightly because he's balked behind the Sauber and the dirty air kicking in the final sector of this Losail circuit. You would imagine this is going to be like Charles play. Alex Gillen hasn't pitted so far in this race. 31 laps counting on his set of hard compound tyres. Kareem 17 on a fresh set of soft tyres. Absolutely rapid as the Season 9 champion. Will Alex Gillen peel out of the way? No, he will not, but with a DRS flap opening and a little bit of ERS potentially as well. This is going to be incredibly easy. The easiest move Kareem will have to make in probably the entire race. Through he goes, and he'll continue to soldier on with Tiamat Marduk, Adam Sanderson and Meraki now comfortably in his rearview mirrors.
Resistance is futile, my friend. Kareem 17 on the march. Up to P4 he goes, 3.5 seconds between him and the next of the competition on the road. The battling trio, Formula Kai, getting very, very close to Infratic, perhaps trying to throw a little bit of a spanner into the works as he's trying to just get in to that front two, just to pile on the pressure, of course. Crucial for his race if he wants to pit onto tyres first. Lolly has that priority at the moment. He's first on the track. He can make that decision before Formula Kai even has time to properly react to it. So if he can get ahead of Infratic and Lolin Ober, what a piece that could be for the rest of his race. But the gap is ridiculous. We saw this in Mexico on the new tyres and the softer compounded tyres, but that is ridiculous already. Just gaining, what is that, 9 tenths through the middle sector alone, and 9 tenths through the first sector alone. Kareem 17 is on fire out there.
Going to set the track alight. Something we should mention, Infratic is on the medium tyres, still on the medium tyres, still going about his business, and still going about that business at a very decent rate of knots. Fabio, does he maybe want to go on to softs at the end of this race? Alex Gillen has had enough of his hard compound tyres, reigning champion into the pits. You would imagine this is going to be for the yellow stripe mediums to take him to the end of this Grand Prix, barring any safety cars, of course. We'll stay on board with the lime green Sauber car, see how the pit stop works. Yes, it is the yellow striped banana tyres going onto the Sauber car. Yellow flag again. That's Safso coming out of the wardrobe from Narnia again to let a few drivers file on through. And Gillen's going to come out in P12, maybe 13th with Gwatz in the Mercedes, the Mercedes powered Williams charging down the straight. Here comes Adam Sanderson. down the inside of turn number 4. Tim Marnick had to get his elbows out there. Turn 5, I should say.
Of course, haven't hung on to the coattails of DRS. In fact, those coattails have just absolutely ran rapid, has the Mercedes of Kareem 70. So nothing to lose in the battle between Tiamat Mardik and Adam Sanderson, other than the fact that Meraki is now going to be all over the back of them in the battle for what is going to be P5, provisionally, of course, when the front three have pit, what will be P2 in this race. Kareem 70 latching on to the back of Formula Kai. It's a 4-car DRS train at the front of the field. And I turn my attention briefly to track limits because it is going to be a talking point. A bunch of drivers have done extremely well, actually. No warnings for a certain Lolinoba in P1. No warnings for Tiamat Mardik, Adam Sanderson, Meraki, the first Alpine on the road of that guy, Vince. They have all kept their nose squeaky clean so far. And could that pay dividends? It could pay off handsomely for them. Infratic finally throws the medium tyres away. They are toast as Kareem 70 tyres are only just getting started. Biffs the diffuser of Formula Kai just to mark that he is there and he is ready and waiting in the wings. Look at the amount of grip he has once again. Visualise before your very eyes, and Formula Kai sensibly does not fight it one bit. He wants to keep his race firmly out of trouble, and Kareem 70 is one position away from again taking the forefront of proceedings.
Come on, get on with it. That's what he's shouting as he's going through turns 1 and 2. Love tap once, twice, thrice through the first couple of corners. And Formula Kai saying, okay, I see you got the pace. I'll just get out of your way. Roll out the red carpet for the Season 9 champ. They have got a bit of previous, haven't they, Kareem and Formula Kai? Formula Kareem and Formula Kai. They were when they were battling very, very hard right at the sharp end, and resuming that in second and third, although both of them still need to make an extra stop in this race. Tiamat Mardik has fallen back behind the McLaren of Adam Sanderson. Now has his teammates sternly examining the rear of his own car, the sister Haas car, as they run P5 and P6. Ben, we have to talk about that first lap again. If you missed it, started P16. By the end of lap 3, was running P7. That is incredible, incredible stuff. And that's what's got him into this position to still challenge for that first Creator Series win in 205 days.
Absolutely. Season after season of experience, allowing him to just propel up the pecking order. Speaking of propel, Kareem 70 shows the nose to the inside. Lolinoba broke the toe as aggressively as he could. But, I'll say it again, resistance is futile. Is it another switchback out of turn number 2? You can bet your bottom dollar it is. Kareem 70, the money man on a mission, has a brilliant return on investment on his soft compound tyres and up to P1 for the second time tonight for the Mercedes man. The cream of the crop rises to the top. He's got the car underneath him. He's got the tyres and the rubber to burn. And he is doing it to great effect indeed. Lap number 35 here in Creator Series Qatar. We've seen some absolutely amazing action all the way through. Some splendid strategies, but in the background there have been many, many things going on besides. And who better to take you through it than our phenomenal presenter. Ladies and gentlemen, I hand you over to Tom Knight.
Wow, very gracious, Carl, and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. It's good to be back and just have a bit of a chat as how the race has been progressing from behind the scenes. But first of all, I want to take you back 35 laps to that lap 1, where we saw not only Matt 2-on-2 DNFing, but Qatar, Lucas, Razinchai and Lenz, all of those drivers getting a bit of damage and diving into the pit lane at the first time of asking. And that set the scene pretty much for Lenz down in 19th place at the moment, as we do watch Lolinoba actually coming into the pit lane as well. One driver who hasn't had a good afternoon is Saf, so it's just gone from bad to worse to even more worse for the Williams man. He ended up in the gravel after locking tyres. He then disconnects from the session, and after that he just can't seem to catch a break, having to let cars through under blue flag conditions, and he's falling further and further down the order. You can even watch, when you watch on board with him, how far wide he goes just to cede those positions, trying not to ruin the races of those around him. Great sportsmanship from Safso himself. Speaking of McLaren, though, as we alluded to earlier, Matt 2-on-2 with his first ever Creator Series DNF, if we exclude the slight pit stop shenanigans that occurred back in Singapore. It's been a tale of two races for the Papaya-based outfit. Of course, Adam Sanderson running rather well up in the top spots in P3 at the moment. Their other car, not so much, down having an early shower this afternoon. And albeit being nighttime here in Qatar, it is still quite warm down on that track surface, and we're seeing a very similar story in the tyres, absolutely cooking in the Qatari heat. quite a lot of them starting to overheat and burn up more rapidly than we were expecting from the offset. And we saw, again, speaking of offset, just the difference between the left and the right tyres for most of our drivers' tyres here this afternoon. It's not only tyres that are burning up, it is the fuel as well. Quite a lot of drivers gone for an overfueling option, not expecting there to be many safety cars. I can tell you one driver who has gone under, that is Mr. Razin Chai, down in 16th place, hoping to keep that kick Sauber just a little bit lighter than it was a few laps ago. One final point from me, it has to be about penalties. You alluded to track limits earlier and how it was catching quite a lot of drivers out. It is a MotoGP circuit after all. They encourage going slightly wider past the white lines, but 33 seconds worth of penalties across the board for all of our drivers, and I'm sure that's only going to get exponentially more as we head towards that checkered flag, Carl.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tom Knight. What a legend. What an absolute legend he is, ladies and gentlemen. And like I say, the ability to move freely without the restriction of moving 2 and then 1 is an absolutely commendable achievement, really. On board with Mr. Meraki still staring at the back of his teammate's rear wing. Again, Safso with a yellow flag in sector number 3. Just taking it nice and easy at a canter, just surveying the scenery here in Losail. Main news though, gap at the front. Kareem 70 still flying. Soft tyres still working well. 13 laps old for the Mercedes man and still lapping about 8/10 of a second faster than what Formula Kai is behind. He's got Adam Sanderson to worry about and the two Hasses have coupled on as well. Meanwhile, Ricky 03 was dispatched to both Alpine cars. Took him a little bit of time, but with those slightly younger hard tyres and with the car underneath him, the Italian stallion is galloping on forwards.
This is going to be really interesting, isn't it? Formula Kai into the pits for the first time, 20 laps to go. And you imagine we'll put on maybe the soft tyres. They've looked very, very strong. You've seen Kareem on the soft tyres, absolutely flying. No, it's going to be the yellow stripe mediums for Formula Kai, and he's going to be hunting down drivers in the second half of this Grand Prix. Just watch out for Alex Gillen, lapping very, very nicely in the low 1 minute 25s. Fastest man on the track as things stand is the reigning champion, now dipping his toes into the 124s. Kareem 70 does have to make another stop in this race. When is the question? The egg timer going to be running out very, very shortly, you would imagine. He's 12 seconds ahead of Ricky 03, who, if you exclude Adam Sanderson, is technically the net race leader of the one-stops. We don't know 100% what Adam Sanderson is going to be doing strategy-wise. 20 laps on his hard tyres, another 20 laps needed to be achieved. He'll come out about 10 seconds maybe behind Ricky and the Alpines. That will join Kareem 70 at the hip with Alex Gillen and Formula Kai. Not Formula Kai, Lola Nobra, I should say.
Indeed it will. Solid gap between Alex Gillen and those cars up ahead in P1 down to P7. Concept 7, though, has got Fabio right on his heels. Fabio is a bit of a cork in the bottle in the context of Alex Gillen's race, but once he's dispatched of him, like you say, he's made great headway here. And I think the big question here, Tom, is who do you think's in the best position here? We're seeing a little bit of a disparity between the 2 stops and the 1-stop strategy. Speaking of 2 stops, Tim Marduk has just peeled into the pit lane. Right on cue, here comes the Australian sensation to throw down the final gauntlet of tyres, potentially, in this race. It will be soft compound tyres to go to the end. We saw Kareem have plenty of pace, and now Tiamat Marduk will be another driver to plant on the power all the way to the bitter end. But who do you think's got the best chance, and who's in the best position, do you think, in this race at the moment?
Alex Gillen's looking pretty strong. He's 10 seconds off the back of the Ferrari Ricky and the 2 Alpine cars. But if he can just turn on the afterburners on the medium tyres, only done 6 laps on them as well, is around about half a second a lap faster. In clear air, it's a little bit more. Currently swapping DRS with Lolanova. He's got a great chance. Ben, if he can turn on the afterburners as well, will be very, very dangerous. He's only thinking about 2 people. He's thinking about his teammate and he's thinking about Kareem 70. I don't think he's that worried about Adam Sanderson. He thinks either Adam's going to 2-stop and I'm going to undercut him here, or Adam's going to try to go to the end and basically be running on the rims of that McLaren car by the time we get to the end of lap 57. I think Ben's feeling confident. Kareem will be feeling extra confident as well. Fastest man out there, you would have to say, on the balance of things over the first 40 laps. He's going to be boxing very, very soon. He just wants to make sure he doesn't lose that crucial track position, too much track position, to Tim Marduk.
Absolutely. Whether he goes for a second set of soft tyres, I briefly looked into his strategy to see what he was cooking up, and there was a chance, an inkling that 2 soft tyres were on the table. Maybe wants to take this set a couple more laps just so he knows he'll have the impetus to plant his power, his foot to the floor, all the way until the end. Doing about the same lap times, actually a few tenths faster than Adam Sanderson on the previous lap. So clearly still some brilliant purchase from the Pirelli soft tyres, which amazingly haven't turned into a pyroclastic flow. Gap now over 5 seconds as Kareem 70 carries on his merry way. As meanwhile, the Merc Pitbull is saying box to Mr. Kareem. Now, very interesting. 17 laps to the end, and like you say, quite possibly doesn't want to lose too much track position here, particularly to Tiamat Marduk, who could steal a march on him if he just waits a bit too long.
And this would be a perfect lap because he's going to split the difference after that first stop. This would complete 17 laps on this set of soft tyres and leave him 17 laps on the final set of soft tyres. With the fuel loads coming down, he's going to be so quick. Is this Kareem just finding his feet once again? We know the trials and tribulations that he's had since he's turned that racing line off. Yes, he's found himself in a faster car, but when you're given the right tools, a good handyman makes good work of it, and a bad handyman throws it in a skip and nails his arm to the post, most likely. So does he come into the pits? Was Bono lying? No, he was not. And this is going to be the charge for Kareem 70. Season 9 champion will try and chase down what you think is now going to be Adam Sanderson trying to go to the end.
Well, what a dynamic we have set before us, ladies and gentlemen. Kareem 70 into the pit lane. We are being told from our man on the ground, Tom Knight, that he is indeed going for mediums, but no! Soft compound tyres for Mr. Kareem 70. Well, they clearly worked a treat in the middle stint. No reason why they can't work in that same fruitful way here. Does he crucially get out ahead of Tiamat Marduk? The answer is yes, he does, and a couple of laps fresher on the soft compound tyres he has. So, it is foot to the floor, all the way to the end. Crucially as well, by the way, lolling over, getting ahead of Alex Gillen. Yellow flag briefly, though, as it's again the Williams of Safso just on the inside, letting cars through. We're highlighting the Italian stallion, though, and then Formula Kai, who's just made his way through. Past Concept 7, he absolutely cutthroat from the Canadian driver, and into P9 he goes. A tagline that almost spells TNT, an explosive display. Infratic next up potentially on the chopping block.
Well, look who's behind them. Lurking, Kareem 70 on the brand new soft compound tyres. 20 seconds the gap between himself and Adam Sanderson. 20 seconds in 16 laps. You would imagine that should be fairly easy. The only problem is the cars in front are a little bit quicker than Adam Sanderson at this stage. You're thinking Riccio 3 is about a second lap faster than Adam Sanderson on 6, 7, 8 lap fresher tyres, hard tyres there, 9 lap fresher tyres I should say. As Jake now into the box to get shot of his medium tyres, he'll be about maybe 3-4 seconds off the back of Tim. Marduk did not hold him back, of course, earlier on as he managed to catch up, but look at the grip that Kareem has got. He's got to pick these cars off one by one, ASAP, starting with this Ferrari, and this looks like it's going to be fairly regulationary.
Here we go, hedge your bets. Fastest lap of the race for Tiamat Marduk, cutting aggressively to the inside is Formula Kai, less so having to apply that particular amount of inside force. Here's Kareem 70, who quickly and very comfortably dispatches of Concept 7. P9 then for the Mercedes man, still on just that one warning. Crucially, he has another one in the pocket, and he's already going to dispatch of Fabio. Incineration of Infratic is inbound. That's to the inside of the double right-hander. Would have the outside, but Fabio gives up the ghost, and Kareem 70 blasts on past into P8.
This is where Ben's got to be clinical as well. He started off nicely, getting ahead of Concept 7 at the first opportunity. Has to follow in the footsteps of Kareem 70 if Ben's got any chance of ending his long wind drought. Remember, 205 days since Tiamat Marduk last stood on the top step of a Creator Series podium, excluding the sprint race that he won in Singapore a few weeks ago. He doesn't count that as a real Creator Series victory, even though Map 212 might be yellow flag out. That is not Safso this time, I don't think, although I'm not sure. The Alpine Blue and the Williams Blue are fairly similar. I think it might have actually been Safso going slowly there. Where is Jake, by the way? 5 seconds off the back of his teammate. He's got a lot of hard grafting to do in the remaining 15 laps of this Qatar Grand Prix. Adam Sanderson has a 5-second buffer out in front, a little bit slower than the cars behind. There's an opportunity here for somebody to write themselves into Creator Series legend.
Kareem 70 absolutely flying, and to the inside he goes. To the inside Tiamat Marduk goes. It's academic manoeuvres from the two soft tyre runners, P7 and P9 respectively, as they look to try and escape from the cars behind. More so than that, though, to gobble up cars ahead with predatorial instinct. Lap number 43, just under 15 tours of the Losail circuit to go, and it's going to be a blockbuster finish to the end.
And remember when we said Kareem was 20 seconds off the race lead? Yeah, that's already 16 seconds. That is how quickly A's pick his way through the traffic, and B, how quick he just is anyway on those soft compound tyres in that silver arrow that is charging now after Alex Gillen, who is still very close to the back of Lolonova. I don't think Alex quite has the raw pace in this race to really challenge, but he's thinking about the championship, of course, and he'll be very happy to just pick up a nice total of points, even though it's likely that Tim Mark will probably push the reigning champion down a further spot. Chris, 4 seconds up the road in no man's land, really 3 seconds off the back of his teammate, who is quietly closed up to the back of our pole sitter, Ricky 03. Things very much not signed, sealed and delivered for this second podium of the season for the Scarlet Ferrari car. With Kareem, with Ben, with Jake coming very, very quickly on their fresh tyres, Ricky's going to have to work hard in the remaining stages of this Qatar Grand Prix. First port of call is hold off this Alpine.
On the fastest lap of the race for Kareem 17, Ricky 03 holds off the Alpine charge for the moment. Might not be Halloween anymore, but that guy Vince doing the graveyard shift and is back trying to put Ricky 03's race 6 feet under. Formula Kai keeping up with Kareem very nicely, actually, on his medium compound tyres. Exactly what he needs to do if he's going to be pulled along towards the front of the field. We are going to keep a very close eye on the gap between Kareem 70 and the front of the field, and also Tim McMarlick potentially. Vince saying, Ricky, please do not drop the pace. At the pace he was going, he would have caught Adam Sarnason by lap number 54. However, he has just taken his foot off the loud pedal a little bit. The gap teetering at about 5 seconds, and Adam Sarnason just finding a little bit more comfort with the clear track.
Yeah, they're at the same tyres and they're at the same pace, and the tyres are probably at a similar stage of their life cycle as well. Adam Sanderson will hit the next phase, though, the next drop-off in pace before the end of this race. The question is whether the Ferrari and the Alpines will hit that phase as well, and whether it will come before the charging soft runners manage to catch them. Another penalty for Safso, who's absolutely loving life with no cares in the world down in P19, doing some very, very casual tours of Qatar. Lovely little tourist attraction going on the Safso Twitch channel. Ben, 2.5 seconds off the back of Kai. Gareth Allen has just pointed this out. He is not catching that RB car. I think very, very shortly might be having to think about his teammate. Is Ben struggling here? Is it just battling with Fabio, or does he have a bit of damage? I'm trying to see. I think that front wing is intact, but this is not the lick of speed I expected.
Unhealthy rear end slide through turn number 1 as well. The Haas car just not providing that mechanical grip that the Australian sensation would have been hoping for. Again, losing a couple of temps out of turn number 2. The confidence on the soft tyres just not quite there for our 2-time Creator Series champion. Meanwhile, the 1-time Creator Series champion has just broken the 1-second barricade to Alex Gillen up ahead. 2 more cars to dispatch of, and then it is really foot to the floor and crunch time for the Mercedes man. Formula Kai doing, like I say, a great, great job to keep up on his medium tyres. Of course, they're a tiny little bit older and, of course, a compound harder, but the more he can stay in that DRS, you don't need me to tell you this, but guess what? Gonna tell you anyway. The more he can stay in that DRS, the more Kareem can just pull him along, the much, much better of a chance by the end of this race he could have of winning his first ever Creator Series race.
But how much of a fight does Alex Gillen put up here? He's recharging the battery. He has been very vocal at calling Kareem 17 washed. He should return to Formula Kareem. Where's Formula Kareem's pace gone? Kareem in a Mercedes. He should absolutely walk this. Or is this an opportunity for Alex Gillen to put a stamp down, or is he just going to let the Mercedes run past? The answer is B. He is not going to fight Kareem 17, who continues to march onwards towards a potential victory to get him back into the winner's circle. Datka Vince has decided, Ricky, your pace is not strong enough, mate. I'm going to have to do this on my ones if I want to win for the second time this season and in the Creator Series, full stop. 4.5 seconds the gap between the McLaren and the Alpine. If you look at this, there's what, 3, 4, maybe 5 drivers that can still win this race with 11 laps to go?
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, if you wanted just a cinematic climax to the end of this Creator Series race, you've come to the right place. here in Qatar. Probably questions about whether overtaking was going to be a factor, but we've seen plenty of overtakes. More to the point, though, we have seen a selection of strategies concocted before your very eyes. It's almost like the script writes itself, really. But look at this, a whole smattering of different tyre compounds. Only a few have been brave and bold to go for a second set of soft compound tyres, that being Kareem 70 and Tiamat Marduk. Then a whole flurry of medium and hard tyre runners as the one stop comes tete-a-tete with the two stop. Adam Sanderson has extended the gap out in front. That is crucial in the context of his race. A first Creator Series win in the F1 side of things awaits him as well if he stays in this position. But what's Kareem 70's progress looking like? The answer is, as Riccio 3 takes that guy Vince, Kareem 70 on the prowl. But so is Lolin Oba down the inside of the second Alpine of Chris, and through he goes. Crucial that he made that move, but a slide on the exit. Kareem 70 doesn't need a second invitation. He's going to hold it all the way round the outside, not without going off the track, but they still remain line astern in towards the double right-hander. And once again, the pressure pays off, persistence pays off. Kareem 70 is into the top 5.
They were some pretty sharp elbows that Chris has got on his car, it has to be said. Not willing to live that one down, and eventually had to concede defeat just because of the pace that Mercedes has got on the soft compound tyres. Speaking of them, I wonder if Tiamat Marduk put on a used set of the soft compound tyres. He started on a brand new set. Did he use 2 sets in qualifying as well, which just left him a little bit handicapped come the end of this race? If you look at the pace that Meraki's got, he's not particularly quick either on the medium tyres, but is faster than Ben. Was he better suited to put a set of medium tyres on? Did he go for the harder allocation? Rasenchai retires in the pits. Interesting strategy game. We've got a safety car. Well, as Razin, I said he retired in the pits, has he thrown it into the wall before pit lane exit? And that is going to put pay to Kareem 70's charge. Adam Sanderson is absolutely loving life because he is now the race leader, effectively.
Check it out, a first win and a first podium potentially on the cards for the McLaren. Man, had plenty of a gap to the cars behind. It should be a trouble-free pit stop, and so it is. Through he goes. Formula Kai stays out. Very interesting. Formula Kai decides new tyres are not the way forwards. It's going to get very, very busy in the pit lane. Softs or mediums, what do you gamble on? Kareem 70 didn't have a choice. Plenty of drivers, though, going for the soft compound tyres at the end of this race. And, well, what about that? Rasenchai deciding that calls a day to my race. I don't blame him. Down in P16 and P17, down in the doldrums for a lot of this race after lap 1 contact. And he suddenly just, well, if this race couldn't get spicy enough, it's now just got that little bit spicier.
I have to commend Formula Kai for staying out here, but I feel he might be a bit of a sitting duck. Safety car, Rasenchai doing the charity work there so that everybody can have a little bit of content come the end of the race. We were going to get a barnstorming finish. We're going to have that anyway with the safety car coming out. Everybody converges on each other. Adam Sanderson, not the race leader, as I mistakenly said he would have been. I didn't expect Formula Kai to stay out, but he's rolled the dice, trying to pick up as many places as he possibly can. Ben onto a new set of soft tyres. Gillen, Chris, Lolly, Vince onto the soft tyres. Kareem has obviously used up all of his soft tyres, you would expect there. Chucking on the mediums. Riccio 3 doing the same in third. Kareem, I mean, I would have said he looked dead certain to pick up the victory. As things stand, the podium is now going to be a bit of a tall order with the tyre delta that he's going to have to go against them. Formula Kai, too many Kareems, Kais and Formulas. In 27 Creator Series appearances, finished in the top 10. In 20 of them, 69% top 10 scoring record.
Nice. 9 laps to go, ladies and gentlemen. Lap 48, when they cross the beam, that is, there will be 9 laps numerically to go, but it will be Formula Kai that leads. 10-lap-old medium tyres, though. It's bold, it's brave, and it's... I'll be honest, it's a tall order. I do apologise, but you never know. You never know. Stranger things have happened in Creator Series over the many seasons that we have had. Season 11, realistic cars, has shaken up the order quite significantly. If you needed any indication, look at this race. 3 of the championship contenders, Alex Gillen, P7, Tiamat Marduk, P9, Meraki, P11. Rasenchai won't even see the checkered flag today. They have had a bit of an arduous set of affairs, and those with the slightly faster and slightly more capable machinery have been making the most of it, which makes it all the more commendable, for that matter, that the likes of Formula Kai, Lolin Oba, Alex Gillen in P7, hell, you can throw that guy Vince into the equation as well, have managed to hold on to the front of the field as much as they have been able to.
And just on the championship, you've mentioned how the 4 main protagonists struggling. This is an opportunity for somebody in the pack to make a run, whether that is Datka Vince, who's already won so far this season back in Zandvoort, albeit in the reverse direction, whether it's Ricky 03 challenging for a second podium of the season, second ever podium in the F1 Creator Series, Adam Sanderson looking for that elusive first win, not just first podium, first win for Adam Sanderson in the McLaren car. Tim McMahon down in P9, 205 days since he last tasted victory in a Creator Series race that wasn't a sprint. Alex Gillen trying to make it a hat-trick of wins. Going to be difficult, but he's been brought back onto almost a level playing field with everybody else. And Kareem 17, through the trials, the struggles, the tribulations of turning off the Rainbow Snake, has finally found the right formula again. But can he find the pace in the remaining 8 laps to take a victory that looked very likely before the safety car came out?
All questions that will be answered once the safety car peels into the pit lane. It looks like we're going to have one more lap of safety car while we have Lenz the Goat and Safso making their way up to the back of the field. The prisoner from Azkaban, who is in witness protection, hasn't had the rub of the green this race, and I think that's putting it very politely. Just has not gone his way today, for the Williams driver. So currently in P18, but you know what? He's kept his head in the game. He stayed in the race. Kareem 17 saying the mediums just aren't warming up. Bit of a surprise in the desert, but under the cloud of night, well, quite potentially a bit of struggle season awaits the Mercedes driver, and maybe even Ricky 03, who has also gone onto those new medium tyres.
Might be deja vu from the opening lap. The question will be, will the mediums be better than the softs come the end of lap 57? I'm not sure they will be. I think the performance we've seen from the soft tyres, I didn't think the softs would be that bad a tyre. Kareem 17 has certainly made them work very, very nicely. We've seen how strong they can be when they're in the right operating window. Could be a bit of a tall order in the first couple of laps if indeed he is struggling to get the energy into those front tyres in particular. Could understeer like a boat through the middle sector.
Again, all great things we are about to find out on here on lap number 50. It will be lap number 51 as Cotter Lucas, Chappers and Guat seem to get a bit trigger happy under the safety car, just swapping hands. So fair enough, mark a statement of intent with the racecraft. You are watching the EA Sports Creator Series on F1 25. You're seeing Adam Sanderson stalking his prey for when the safety car will peel into the pit lane on new soft compound tyres. You feel like it was a given. You feel like it was just a golden opportunity waiting to be reached out and taken. But you just never know. You just never know what could happen out there. The pack is all nice and bunched up. If you are enjoying this race, of course, we have a flurry of social medias that you can follow. On an internet, you have an Instagram, YouTube channel, this Twitch channel, of course. If you're not following, shame on you, quite frankly. And a myriad of others besides. Safety car in this lap. We've had many a highlight so far this race. And to take you through the restart, Tom Wilkinson, what action we could see.
Well, the storylines, first of all, you would say they're going to write themselves, but I'm not sure it's going to be quite that simple. Formula Kai never won in the F1 Creator Series. Adam Sanderson never won in the F1 Creator Series. Ricky 03 has never won in the F1 Creator Series. Plenty of drivers behind them have. Can that top 3 scrap it out amongst themselves and become the latest Creator Series victor? Formula Kai, 12 laps on his medium tyres, backing the pack up to some tune as we round the final corner for the 50th time of 57. Adam Sanderson looking to try and steal a march as much as he possibly can. He's on the fresh soft compound tyres. Ricky 03 and Kareem on the mediums. Will they have warm-up trouble? Formula Kai is bolted, pinning the right foot to the floor of that RB car and leaving Adam Sanderson in his wake. And already Ricky 03 is under the Kosh and the Alpine as well. Further back of Chris on the move and in the groove as well. Darting all over the place. Ricky 03 to the inside. Lock up from Datka. Vince Loninoba doesn't need a second invitation. The Italian stallion gallops down the inside. Adam Sanderson comes through. Loninoba around the outside. Ricky's round. The Ferrari is spun and is dropping all the way down the field. Tim Monic and Alex Gillen sinking their teeth into one another as well. 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 through 4 and 5. Somehow they keep it pointing in the right direction. It's an RB13, but Formula Kai's got a penalty.
Rampant restart, but quite right. Formula Kai's put himself in the very precarious position. None of the 3 cars behind him have a chance of getting a penalty. In fact, you look down to Fabio. That's the next car on the road. Concept 7's endearing himself to the stormy cloud of the stewards, as already the gloves are off. We expected just as much, but now it is full CQC all the way through. Who has the most metal gear of them all? Adam Sarnason will want to clear Formula Kai as quickly as possible. Lolinoba looks threatening. Any of the cars behind could threaten for victory. He could put it beyond doubt if he just makes his way through as we look to Alex Gillen. Just gets a wash of dirty air through the right-hander. Loses 3/10 in an instant. Through onto lap number 52 we go. Is it the optimal exit from Adam Sanderson? Not quite the one he might have been hoping for, but the slipstream, the ERS to burn. Formula Kai once again would dearly love to win this on the track, but will Adam Sanderson send it to the inside? No, he will not, and Lolinoba all the while is just licking his lips. There is an opportunity awaiting if the McLaren cannot clear the V-Carb car quickly enough.
Could it be the day of days then for Adam Sanderson? But like you said, in a V-Carb sandwich, Formula Kai, if he does cross the line first, that will be the second time that he's crossed the line in the lead, but with a penalty, has lost the race victory, and he's still looking for that elusive first Creator Series win. Dakovic, I think, was thinking about it around the outside of turn 6, battling away with the RB of Lolinoba. Tierman Mardik did manage to get ahead of a number of cars. Cream 17, big loser, along with Ricky, who looped it round coming out of turn number 3. Down to P9 on the mediums. That's going to be a tall order, a tricky final 5 laps to make those places back up. This is the effective battle for P1. The McLaren of Adam Sanderson, Lolinoba in P3, and Formula Kai, very much the joker in this pack, as Adam Sanderson in the Papaya McLaren looking to ace it into the final sector.
Goodness me. You know, the thing is, when you're on those harder compound of tyres, as Kareem 70 and Ricky are, you just have to keep your head. You just have to keep it on the track as much as possible. Yes, you're going to be picked apart early, but if you just weather the storm, if you just have the psychological artillery in your arsenal, just to make sure that you're keeping yourself on the right trajectory, that could pay off in spades at the end. Adam Sanderson, though, looks to take the lead of the race. Kai will defend to the inside. Still, he holds that inside line, but the soft tyres will simply breeze Adam Sanderson through into the lead, and it's going to be double trouble as Lolinoba goes through to take P2. 2 cars displacing the medium-shodden V-Carb runner in an instant, and that guy Vince now has a great chance to make his way through. On board with the Alpine driver, the French connection looks to be right on schedule. No chance of sending it into the left-hander. We are also hearing as Safso gets another time penalty for track limits. We are also hearing that under that safety car restart, Kai might have been caught going below the minimum speed.
Well, with a 3-second penalty, add something onto that. That's not really going to make too much difference. Fabio's the one that's in big trouble with 12 seconds worth of time penalties. Look at Dakovic, so much more grip, but struggling through the dirty air. Is there an invitation for his teammate? No, not quite. Tierman Mardik and Alex Gillen still waiting in the wings as well. Can they pick up pieces from any scraps and skirmishes in the last 5 laps of this Lusail Qatar Grand Prix? Adam Sanderson hasn't got winning pedigree. Lolinoba does, and in realistic cars as well. Remember back to the first time we ran realistic performance, Spa, last season in a Ferrari car. Lolinoba was the victor, so he knows how to get it done when the cars are not all equal. Will they be equal on the run down into turn number 1? Fastest lap goes the way of Adam Sanderson. DRS lap is open for Lolinoba. The RB gaining. The Racing Bull is charging eyeball to eyeball into the braking zone. Lolinoba has the ascendancy down the inside. Adam Sanderson happy to concede that for the time being.
Just playing a mathematical game here, depending on when he can be ahead. He knows that if he plays this mathematically as he's doing, if he can indeed get ahead with DRS assistance and overtake on every lap like this, he will be the one that's ahead come lap number 57, exactly where he needs to be. But he's got to execute it correctly. Another 3-second time penalty meanwhile. That's Gwatz now with a time penalty next to his name as we highlight the American dream. Tierman Mardik, Ricky 03 and Scotty Designs doing battle behind, but the Haas driver is just waiting in the wings. There's buckets of popcorn being just spread out across the field behind as that guy Vince still hasn't managed to get past Formula Kai, who is showcasing some great pace despite the age and wear on his medium tyres. 10 laps older than anybody else that's in the top 10, still retaining that DRS just about.
Something interesting with the leading duo as well. Neither of them have picked up a warning in this race so far, so very much the gloves are off. They've got a couple of strikes, couple of warnings, couple of opportunities, maybe to just push the limits ever so slightly more with 3 laps of this Grand Prix to go. Tick them down. 54 will become 55 in a matter of seconds. And Lolinoba now takes the fastest lap away. Remember, there's a point for fastest lap. that could prove crucial in the championship. McLaren speeding in a straight line, not quite fast enough to make any real impression up to the back of Lolanoba, down into the braking zone of turn 1. Opportunity for both of them. Adam Sanderson, let's not forget, has never won in the EA Sports F1 Creator Series before. A winner in F2 would be only the third victor as a full-time F2 driver and then a full-time F1 driver.
First podium it will be regardless for the Papaya Pro. What could be though? What could be if a glint and a glimmer in his eyes emerges for the top step of the podium? Another 3-second time penalty. That's Scotty Designs, by the way. Ricky 03 doing battle with his teammate, though. Concept 7, Ricky 03, the Ferraris going into combat, and it's Concept 7 that at the moment holds the advantage. Are the mediums actually gaining any pace? The answer, not at the moment. Adam Sanderson saying, what is that straight line speed? Well, quite right, but he's got to keep his head in it. If he wants any chance of winning, he's got to play it strategically. We are hearing dirty air is hitting the McLaren driver particularly hard, so just another spanner in the works in his quest for victory.
Just got to stay headstrong as the two Scarlet Ferraris very much aren't. Ricky 03 muscles his way past teammate. Very misleading word, is it? Because in this race, very much not mates and not friendly, the two Ferrari cars, and not in the Constructors' Championship as well, because that has been abolished for this season of the Creator Series. With the equal cars, Adam Sanderson, 4/10 per second, the gap between himself and Lolanoba. Is this a chance as we start the penultimate lap to get the lead of this race back? I don't think it is, as he continues to follow in the footsteps of the Italian stallion in front. Meraki in Formula, Kareem 17 doing battle again into turn 1. Season 4 champion holds off the Season 9 champion. Lolanoba already on 20% battery. Adam Sanderson, though, down at 10%.
Pushing each other right to the limit and then some, but you have to feel that one of them should just save their battery to try and hold that competitive advantage. Kareem 70, his mediums are just starting to come into life, perhaps a few laps too late for his liking. Only 2 times at the crack of the whip of overtaking Meraki. Not successful on this occasion. Will inherit a couple of places due to penalties as things stand. He won't gain on Formula Kai, but he will certainly gain on Infratic, and you do have to feel for him in some ways. Of course, the safety car has spiced up the race a little bit. It compressed the pack down, and Adam Sanderson isn't going to wait for the DRS straight. We saw him do this with Ricky 03 earlier, and as he played that one slightly imperfectly as well, onto the final lap of the race, he better hope he has the battery and the exit of his life, because, Tom, we know how this score was settled the last time he did this.
Well, was that Adam Sanderson thinking, that's my one shot and I'm going to have to take it? He's saying the RB's got the straight line speed. Are we going to see that come to fruition? Look at the overspeed. To the middle of the circuit goes Adam Sanderson, but he's just a passenger. Back comes galloping the Italian stallion. Lolanoba reasserts himself at the front of the field. 3 Creator Series victories so far. It's been formidable since the safety car came in. Can he hold on with less than a lap to go?
That's the big question. Lolanoba in the pound seat for victory. Adam Sanderson still showing the nose to the inside. Hyper-aggressive display from the McLaren man, who has an outstanding opportunity potentially, but it might just fall away. Kareem 17 though. It's a yellow flag. Massive issues for the Mercedes driver. It did just not fall his way whatsoever. Half lap to go then. To this side, this Grand Prix, Meraki down the inside of Ricky 03. There must have been contact between him and Kareem 70 because Meraki was right on the coattails of Fabio. Lolanoba though, just a few apexes to go. And the Italian stallion, horses for courses, he'll take the win. Here in Qatar, goes wide, uses potentially one of his tokens, but it will be race win number 4. The hat-trick was nice, but the quadruple awaits. Here in Qatar, the jewel in the desert, the crowned king is Lolanoba. Across the line to win for V-Carb with the fastest lap as well. What an immense effort. Adam Sanderson won't quite make it for victory today, but it is a first podium. And that guy, Vince, stands on the podium once again. Realistic cars, you did not disappoint, my friend.
How many storylines could have been written then? Elated Italian celebrations, that's your official translation of Lolanoba's team radio. First win of the season, second in realistic cars, of course, 4th overall. Adam Sanderson, your heart goes out to him. You thought it might have been his day of days in the Papaya McLaren car, but it is, like you said, a first podium, and I don't think the last, and I think it won't be the last of this season either, with the consistency and the fighting spirit that Adam Sanderson showed in that Qatar Grand Prix. And that, Vince, stepping up onto the podium once again, slamming himself back into championship contention. Tim Marduk and Alex Gillen come home 5th and 6th. Chris returning as a reserve. Well, what a reserve performance he put in with number 4 on his card. Formula Kai with that penalty tumbles down. Meraki, difficult couple of races. I think he is... Oh, no, I don't think he will lead the championship anymore. Going to be very close between himself and Gillen. Just 6 points in it. But it is Lolanoba. Fly the flag for Italy and for Racing Bulls, of course, in Qatar. And he was the master of the desert.
There you go. Lolanoba, the rampant Italian stallion. I mean, you hate to see the celebration on the podium. But either way, lifts the trophy aloft. Race win number 4 in the Creator Series. And he did absolutely everything he needed to do. Exploited the straight line speed of the V-carb. Got into clear air when it counted. Used his racecraft and intelligence and calculated it to perfection. And so let the champagne flow. Because Lolanoba sends the team from Faenza sky high. Cleanest driver goes to Alex Gillen. So an extra point on the board for the Kick Sauber driver. A little bit of a reprieve, perhaps, after this race. Still P6, though. It's Lolanoba, though, who takes the win today and fastest lap. Adam Sanderson and that guy Vince round out the podium. Chris, Tiamat Marduk, Alex Gillen. Formula Kai ends up in P7, despite the penalty, so well done. Meraki in P8, Ricky 03 in 9th, excuse me. And Karim 17 rounds out the top 10. Chappers, Kataluka, Scotty Designs, Concept 7, Infratic, Gwatz, Lens the Goat, and Safso round out the finishing cars, and Rasin Chai and Matt 2-on-2 did not make it to the end of the race. Well, what a set of jewels in the desert here in Qatar. We will now throw it back to Mr. Tom Knight.
Wow, 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 wow. What a race we have just seen. I think that quite literally had everything in the rulebook that we could quite possibly want to try and throw at it. And who saw that safety car coming right at the end? Mr. Razin Chai sacrificing his race for the greater good, finding his way into the pit wall, and Bert Mylander making an appearance right at the end to make it a pretty much sprint race, 10 laps or so till the end. Of course, Lolanoba taking victory for the 4th time here in the F1 Creator Series, but absolutely fantastic all around. I was almost certain that Adam Sanderson was going to get his first ever win there, Carl, and I'm sure probably you guys in the commentary box are thinking very much the same.
Quite possibly. Of course, he did have the car underneath him. He had the McLaren, the strongest car statistically in the field in terms of F1 25, but it comes with its own caveats as well in a really weird way. Despite being the fastest car, because it has the most aerodynamic prowess of any car, we saw how much the dirty air was affecting him as well, how much of a counterbalance it had. So extremely interesting. A race of two tails, really, which was extremely exciting. First you had the race of strategy, then you had the race after the safety car. It was a tale of two halves in many ways, but credit to Lolanoba. A fantastic race from him all the way through.
It was somewhat a bit of a reverse Formula 2 race. You had that endurance to start with and then the sprint race to top it all off. Somewhat to what we could have maybe got last time out in Mexico, but alas, creators voted against it and we ended on lap 68 or 88, whichever one you want to call it at the end there. But Tom, coming over to you. Obviously, we've got to talk about Tiamat Marduk and Alex Gillen, 16th and 17th from where they started on the grid, finishing up in 5th and 6th respectively.
I think that was around about the best they could have got. Ben definitely struggled for pace when he put that fast set of tyres on. Alex, I think, just lacked pace overall. I don't think the safety car made too much of a difference to his race. I think he was P7 anyway before the safety car came out. So crossed the line in P7, gained one courtesy of Formula Kai's penalty. I think that's damage limitation for both of them in the championship, considering Meraki was down, I think, in P9 or P10, and Razin had an absolute stinker after lap 1. But I think that was an enjoyable race. We obviously had the strategic part for the first 50 laps or so, and then the sprint to the finish. It would have been nice to see what would have happened if we didn't have the safety car, but at least we did have a fun finish. And Lolanoba, you have to give him credit because he was punchy on that safety car restart.
Yeah, he certainly was. Made the tyres work to his advantage, and we just saw Adam Sanderson struggling in the dirty air. But it's about that time in the afternoon where we get an opportunity to have a chat with everybody that's done well this afternoon. Let's kick off with our race winner, Lolanoba, 4 times standing on top of that podium. Surely that 4th time must feel good. He's deafened. That's fantastic. We shall wait and hopefully try and get Lolanoba just a little bit later on. Let's see if Sanson comes in and undeafens, who could have been on top step of the podium, but unfortunately just one lap too soon diving to the line. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling good, but I must admit it's a little bit bittersweet because if that safety car hadn't have come out, I reckon that would have been a comfortable win. But then that battle at the end, Lolly slowing up so that I overtook him. I shouldn't have overtaken. But at the same time, if I had stayed behind, then I would have had a Kai charging into my rear, and that might not have ended too pretty. So I know he was like a second and a bit back. I'm not saying he was close to cause a crash or anything, but it is what it is. I thought I could outpace him if I went for the move. Turns out, no, I couldn't. But there we go. P2. I'll take it. I'll take it.
It was certainly a cluster of cars, I think, as we headed for that safety car restart. And as you said, it was a bit of tactical play, I think, from Lolly Noba just to force you into that overtake. But let's celebrate the positives out of this. Your first ever podium in the F1 Creator Series. That must feel good, albeit bittersweet.
Yeah, no, exactly. It does feel good. Although I must admit, I'm not going to get that chance to get in the McLaren again, which is a shame. I really wanted to get the McLaren and then win, so that I could be like, yeah, cool, that's me done, happy days. But no, still got to turn up and I've still got to fight for that first win. But we'll get there. We'll get there. It'll just take a little bit longer.
Well, if we take any inference from Concept's podium last week where he finished P2, dropped all the way down to a Ferrari, so have fun in the Italian Stallions next week.
Yeah, well, talking to the Italians, both Ricky and Lolly, they both had incredible straight line speed, so I assume they're probably running the same setup. My wings were just really high by the looks of it, even though I thought I was going for a really low wing setup. Maybe they just went out 5 clicks lower or something or other, so I'm gonna do some investigative work. I'm gonna find out.
And just one final thing for me, obviously, you were the lone McLaren running through that race. Obviously, your teammate Matt212, I say teammate in inverted commas, but let's just say having an early exit out in lap 1 after about 4 corners of racing. Whilst it probably opened up the pit stops a little bit better for you, was it a bit of a struggle not having someone to maybe be able to a little bit split and share with, really?
Well, I was just gutted for him. What was it, lap 1, lap 2, whatever
lap
it was?
1.
Lap 1, oh, mate. The car felt great around there, and I feel really bad that he wasn't able to actually, try it. Because I don't know what happened. I need to look at it back and see what went wrong. But unfortunate for him. Unfortunate. The car was great.
Yeah, it was. I think it was a very unfortunate situation. I think he got about 4 corners into the Grand Prix and then unfortunately called it quits by no choice of his own. But Adam, absolutely fantastic. Congratulations on your first ever podium. And who knows, definitely not your last one, I'm sure of it.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Fantastic. Adam Sanderson, everybody. Wow, from one to another. Let's try our race winner for a second time. Mr. Lolly Noba, 4 times a race winner, and hopefully undeafened and can have a chat with us this time. Lolly, how does it feel to be on the top step of the podium again?
All good with our racing balls. Really, all good. I am feeling like to win a championship.
Confidence going forwards then for maybe the next few races in the season?
Okay, maybe I can retire after this win, because I think I can go to the ass or to the kick, and I so worry about it.
Yeah, I think you were in a bit of a prime spot to have the balance of performance between kind of the slower end of the cars, let's put it that way. But obviously, you were having a great battle with Adam on the final few laps of that race. You, I think, intentionally slowed him up to force the move on to the penultimate lap. Was that all tactics, or was it genuinely just a bit of a mistake on your part?
Maybe at the start of the last lap, I say, okay, maybe I need to charge my battery, but I don't done it in the first sector and the second. So I just decide maybe 1 sector before the finish to recover and recharge the battery and just push on the straight. So this work and enjoy. Simply lovely.
And of course, starting down in P5, you made it a 2-stop strategy using actually all 3 compounds of tyres in the end. So it must have felt quite nice. Which out of the 3 tyres, because you were probably one of a handful of drivers to try all of them, which felt the best in that race?
From my opinion, from the start and from the quali, I just say I need to just play with one stop. So I just put the hard. I destroy all my tire at the end of the stint, and I say, okay, now I go to the medium and full push. So this work. Thank you, Racing, for the safety car. Anyway, I just put the soft, and at the end I just complete the mission.
Absolutely fantastic. Is there anything you'd want to say to, I'm sure all your fans watching in the chat at the moment, anything you want to say to them?
Forza Italia, Forza Italia, Forza Italia, Forza Italia, Forza Italia.
Absolutely fantastic. Everybody, Lolly Noba, race winner for the 4th time in the F1 Creator Series. Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lolly. Wow. Let's move on to, I think we've got one final interview of that guy, Vince, who comes in at P3. If we can drag him across. There we go. Vince, welcome in to the virtual commentary box and congratulations on yet another podium in your career.
Thank you. I'm getting used to this. I like it.
As you should. It's an honour to be up in the commentary box. But as you said, one that we're enjoying seeing you more and more back at the end of races.
You just can't get away from my voice, can you?
I couldn't possibly confirm or deny on broadcast, unfortunately. But started down in P7, again, a 2-stop strategy using all 3 compounds of tyres. How did that race go from your perspective?
It was very tricky, actually. Obviously, Qatar is very renowned for its track limits and how easy it is to just, pick up a 3-second, as we saw from so many people on the grid today. I immediately went in with the mentality of avoid penalty, get a good position. And that's kind of what happened, really, because obviously without Kai's penalty, I wouldn't have got that podium. But yeah, it was a very tricky race overall. We tried to do the 1-stop, and difficult to say if it would have been successful or not. We were running top 3 for a good portion of that race. But the guys in the 2-stop catching up very quickly. I think by the time the safety car came out, they were already 4 or 5 seconds behind. So the safety car probably helped me a lot towards getting that podium. But yeah, you take them as they come, really. Sometimes they work in your favor, sometimes they don't. On this occasion, it did. So
yeah, sometimes it's the way the cookie crumbles, especially when it comes to races, and sometimes one that come out of left field. But we've got to talk, obviously, about the fan vote and the track choice at the end of the day. Were you an advocate of Qatar coming into it, or were you more swaying for one of the other options?
I guess it depends on the car you get, because the Alpine, isn't very well known for being very quick in the straights and stuff. So, although Qatar is not usually a track I got with too well, I knew the Alpine does have more strengths at a track like Qatar than the likes of Australia. I think had we have got something like Australia, I probably wouldn't be in this room right now. So, sometimes you get the benefit with the cars, sometimes you don't. And again, it's one of those things we just have to take it and move on to the next one and pray that we get another good combination, really.
Absolutely fantastic. Vince, it's always a pleasure to come back and chat to you at the end of these races, and more so in the future, we hope. Absolutely congratulations on yet another podium, my friend.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, let's bring in everybody once together. I'm sure everybody's fed up of seeing just my face on the screen. There we go, your fantastic commentary team of Carl Peranic and Tom Wilkinson. And just before we go through the usual sign-off procedure, let's have a talk about that race from your guys' perspective. Obviously, you were the ones taking us through it, but were there any moments in there that you thought, oh, this is a bit of a game changer, this is a bit of a race changer? We'll start with you, Carl.
It depends on what point of the race you ask me, really, because, like I say, it was a tale of 2 halves. I would probably say that if you were talking about the first half of the race, Kareem 7T using 2 sets of softs was a game changer in and of itself. Brought up a massive, well, not massive, but in figurative Qatar and Creator Series terms, a massive enough gap to then pit onto another set of softs and look dead cert for the win. Once you got past that, though, once you got onto that second stanza after that safety car, Lolly getting past his teammate, I think, was probably that moment of the race. If he had been stuck behind him for 1 lap longer, who knows, Sanderson might just have gapped him, but he didn't. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Driver of the day, by the way, has to go to Lolly Noba. I believe the standings are also quite interesting as well, because I think the championship lead is now down to just 1 singular point.
Well, we'll swing over to them. Oh, we'll swing over to them right about now. We'll bring Tom Wilkinson with us as well. And there's your standings. Meraki clutching at quite possibly straws at the top of the table with 92 points to his name. Gillen gets promoted up with 91 points, and then Tim Malik still holding on to third with 79 points. Razin Chai, after his crash out in the desert, ends up in 4th place. That guy Vince, after the podium, becomes tied with our race winner of Lolly Noba, both of them on 72 points. And the other Italian of Ricky 03 in 7th. It's Formula Kai, who is 8th after that penalty knocked him down the order. Although I think if he hadn't have got that penalty, another one would have been coming his way for that safety car procedure, or the safety car restart procedure, not being abided by. Concept 7 holds 9th with Fabio down in 10th, 42 and 41 points respectively between the two of them. Safso, who's had certainly an afternoon to remember, remains 11th, with Sanderson in at 12th place after that 2nd place this result. GB68 will hold on to 13th, but continue to fall, of course, after no longer racing in the series, with Scotty Designs and Chappers, the Red Bull partnership, in 14th and 15th. Matt 2-on-2, after getting about 4 corners worth of racing, stands in 16th place. Crim7T stays in 17th place. Again, another tongue twister for you all. And Tukey, Scott Taylor and Chris down in 20th place. Chris, of course, having his first race of the season, jumping up to 20th place. So a good result, by all accounts, for himself.
Did a very, very good job, didn't he? Didn't quite have the pace of Dak Vince once that second stint started to unfold. Did get dropped by his teammate, got caught by a bit of a group behind, but was on for a solid result before the safety car came out, got his elbows out when the safety car came in, did a very, very commendable job. And I'm just looking at that championship battle. Top 6 separated by 20 points. That could get interesting, especially with cars moving around. Lolonoba's now going to be in a slower car next week, you would imagine. Not too many options for cars that are slower than the V-Carb. The Haas and the Sauber pretty much are the only options that we've got. Vince as well might get bumped back a little bit. So that's going to be really interesting to see how many times that tosses and turns, that little battle.
So it does. And speaking of rounds remaining in the season, let's go ahead and have a look at our calendar for the rest of the season. See where our drivers are going to be heading and racing. Next time out, we head to Interlagos for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Last time we raced there, back in Season 8, with Elray Guri being your race winner. And also hosts a sprint race for round 7 of the F1 Creator Series. A fun fact about Interlagos in Season 8, it's the last time I believe we saw Gareth Allen commentating in the commentary box as well. A little factoid for you. We head for round 8 and another Mystery Grand Prix, but this time we're going full qualifying mode on the 15th of November, and of course a track being announced on race day. We then head under the lights of Las Vegas, the track that's hosted the last 2 season closers, with Formula Crim or Crim7T winning both of those races. And finally, the season closer, round number 10. Where better to go than, of course, Abu Dhabi, under the lights, and I'm sure sparks will fly on the 29th of November, where Razin last won in Season 8. And of course, we had that wonderful wildcard of the tyre rainbow in effect. But Tom, just before we, again, go for the final moments, I want to ask you the same question we asked Carl mere moments ago. What was that race-changing moment potentially for you today?
Everything changed with the safety car. Michael Owen standard punditry there. But I think it was a bit messy, wasn't it, the restart? We had a lot of drivers side by side. I'm not sure how allowable that is in the regulations that we've got, that you're allowed to be side by side on that restart. I think that just made things a little bit messy. Obviously, Riccio 3 as well, looping it round, ruined his chances of getting on the podium for the second time. There was a bit of contact between himself and I think it was Kai going through turn 3. So an unfortunate one for our second Italian. Could have been 2 Italians on the podium for the second time in 3 races. But yeah, that safety car, very, very messy. I think the drivers that were punchy got the rewards for that. Lolly was punchy, Chris was punchy, Kareem got a little bit boxed in on those medium tyres, Ricky as well was a little bit tentative. They were the big 2 that paid the price.
Absolutely. Well, unfortunately, what a race we've just seen out today. It's been fantastic from start to finish, with a safety car topping it off right at the end. But don't forget, you can check out all the socials of Creator Series. They're right above our heads. YouTube, Instagram, X or Twitter, and of course TikTok as well. All of those at Creator Series GG. And of course, if you're watching on Twitch as well, 2 Twitch channels. It was so nice. We had to do it twice for you. We got the traditional one and Creator Series GG as well for your entertainment. And if you're watching on either of those, or any of those platforms, should I say, why not drop us a follow and maybe a subscribe as well? It would be much appreciated. But starting with you, Mr. Carl Wilkinson?
That's both
Carl Paranek. Where can the lovely people at home find you if they want to hear you just a little bit more so? You are muted, sir.
Well, that ruins the effect. Ruins the effect. In solidarity with its chocolate. I'll tell you where you can't find me though, and I've lost the will to live. It's the Great Pyramids of Giza. Don't bother finding me there. But outside of that, my name's quite distinctive, Carl Paranek. If you probably type that in pretty much anywhere on an internet, you'll probably find me there. Tom Paranek, Wilkinson. Where can we find you?
Apart from at the name change committee, because we're obviously combining our names together, and also changed to Michael Owen. Don't forget that. Instagram and TikTok, wilco.com, wilco.darts. TK. Everybody knows who TK is at this point, but just shout it out anyway. And make sure you do Gareth Allen as well, because it annoys him.
Yeah, we'll always shout out Gareth Allen. For social media, you can check me out at They Call Me TK, because some people have learned to call me that. And for a wonderful producer behind the scenes, you can check him out at Gareth Allen TV. Unfortunately, though, until next time out, or maybe Thursday night if you're an iRacing fan, come check us out on all the socials there. But from qualifying quirks to quenching of quarrels, Qatar once again proves it's been the queen of quickfire Grand Prix theatre. Until next time, good night.